What did you expect to find?
An answer.
That's not crazy, is it?
How come I know so much? What the hell is going on around here? Who the hell are you people?
Who the hell are these people? Name my band. Guys, I'm not sure if you are aware of this women rule. Yes, I'm changing my tune. Yeah, you're right. You caught me. Nothing but blue-haired, purple-haired, multicolored-haired women for me from now on. Submitting to their rule. Time to sin. Time to go blue pill.
That we have someone on the other side of this ballot that could be sworn in a matter of weeks, that not only doesn't believe a woman has the right to choose, not only doesn't believe, as the senator said, women are as smart as men. By the way, I don't know if you've seen Senator Warren cross-examine folks on Wall Street. Apparently Larry Elder has not. Women are smarter in politics, smarter in civics. They're smarter in economics. Women rule. Man. Turn on the TV, Larry. Never heard of C-SPAN? He doesn't even believe there's a glass ceiling. The elder doesn't believe in a glass ceiling. He actually said this. You can't even make this up. He said, it's right, he said, for employers to discriminate against women. He said, employers have the right to inquire about an employee's reproductive future because they're just, quote unquote, protecting their investment.
Yeah, there you go. There's your California governor as of, I think, yesterday. For you guys who don't know this already, let me bring my audio levels back up. For all those of you who don't know who Gavin Newsom is, he is the governor of the great state of California, what used to be the great state of California anyways. Yeah, yeah, Crow. Yeah, maybe. I don't think so. I wish I had confidence. I wish I had the confidence that you do. I don't think he's going to lose, but today's topic was inspired by our good friend Gavin Newsom, and also thank you Jack Napier for suggesting today's topic. Actually, I can't say that it was just Jack, but Jack was the catalyst for this. Gavin Newsom is under a recall right now. And probably, I would say, largely because of his handling of 2020 and the COVID situation, and everything else that has been going on for a while. But I think it is very telling, let's just say, that he's using women's issues, riding on the back of the Texas abortion ban. I don't say it's not even really a ban; it's just simply a sort of a rejiggering, let's just say, of abortion laws in Texas right now. That's not banning abortions. Banning abortions after a certain time. But again, it goes back to my show that I did in May, which we're going to talk about today. I kind of have to go and do a little bit of review here because it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Whenever I am debating, or I am I don't even want to call it a debate, but whenever I'm discussing red pill topics with people who are uninitiated, I often use the term gynocentrism. And a lot of people just kind of look at me with glassy eyes when I say it. They don't understand what I'm talking about. Like, gynocentrism sounds like a $10 word. And I've used gynocentrism for quite some time now. And I actually resisted using gynocentrism as a catch-all phrase, let's just say, for what I used to call in my, where to go? In my first book, here it is. I actually have it. In my first book, there are 2 chapters in there. And I won't read them to you. We don't have to go, please buy the book and read them yourself. However, there's a couple of chapters in there, and one of them is called The Female Reality. And another one is sort of, it defines the feminine imperative. Now, you probably have heard me use that term, or you've seen me write about it in the past. Feminine imperative and gynocentrism, or really what's a feminine primary social order, are 2 different things, and they go hand in hand, but they're 2 different things. And I felt like they deserved a little bit of explaining, because I think this is really kind of red pill 101. Once again, I see the red pill is in the mainstream, or people are saying, are we going mainstream? Are we? Yeah. You know what? Let me tell you something, Gabrielle. I'm putting that up there. Yes, Gray Davis is definitely shaking his head right now. I remember I used to live in California, actually, when all that went down with the governor, when Arnold Schwarzenegger decided that he wanted to be, in the wake of the Enron scandal, decided that he wanted to run for California governor and successfully recalling Gray Davis. I remember California used to be a Republican state. It used to be much more conservative than it is now, but that's neither here nor there for today's show. But yeah, thank you for bringing up the name of Gray Davis. So I wanted to sort of create some language, I guess. A lot of people don't understand what gynocentrism is, and people sort of lose the narrative when I start talking about gynocentrism. Now, gynocentrism is not a term that I coined. Actually, I believe it was a term brought into, let's say, vogue in the manosphere, or in the red pill community, in men's sphere, let's just say, in the men's sphere, by who was it? I'm drawing a blank here. Anyways, it was MRAs. It was an MRA word that kind of filtered its way into MGTOW, and then filtered its way into red pill and black pill and every other pill. So when I talk about gynocentrism, what that means is gyno being female, gynecology, female. Yeah. Okay. So that's the Latin for female centrism. Okay. So it's sort of this catch-all phrase for the social dynamic that is female primary, that's feminine primary. And when I say gynocentrism, I'm kind of using that interchangeably with a feminine primary social order. You'll also hear me talk about how we live in a gynocentric social order. If you've read my 4th book, Religion, I use that term quite a bit. So let me get to this real quick. Will the book 5 give non-dark triad advice? Yes, of course. It's not a how-to. It's a why-to. Okay. I don't know how else to make that more clear for you. Alphas run the world, betas will go extinct. We'll see about that, Telly. We will definitely see about that. I'm going to tag a few things. I'm going to tag a few today. By the way, before we get started, today's video, or today's live stream, is going to be very video heavy. And that's by design. So I'm going to try to stay as concise and as coherent as I possibly can. I won't be rambly Rollo today. However, I do believe that we need to sort of define terms here before we get started. You notice that I always kind of preface my videos. Well, this is your preface. So here it is. When I talk about gynocentrism, it, like, especially women who are unfamiliar with that term, they're just kind of like, huh? Deer in the headlights kind of thing, because they don't understand that. Today's generations, like Gen Z, even really, well, certainly the millennials, Gen X, I would even argue, and you'll see why I'm going to argue, the idea of even the boomers sort of adhering to this gynocentric social order, because that's really kind of when it got started. And I'm going to show you just a few videos here as to why that is. So you've probably heard me talk about this in the past, that today's women use the same language as women in the 1970s, like when the militant feminist movement, which is, I kind of have to make a distinct movement right there, because really there's feminism. Feminism has always been feminism. It has always been the same thing since 1848 in Seneca Falls. Okay. It is the same drive. It is the same purpose. It is the same impetus. It is the same goal. Retribution and restitution. It is not about equality. It never has been about equality. It has been about retribution and restitution, and probably reparations if you really want to get technical about things here. There are no waves of feminism. There's only feminism separated by wars and by social unrest and by social upheaval, social changes and things like that. So when people say, well, what do you think about first wave feminism, Rollo? I've said this before. I'll say it once again, because people want to turn first wave feminism into the good feminism. No, the suffragettes were considered terrorists back then. And today, those terrorists are now in control of Western societies. Read book 4, you'll understand exactly what I'm getting at. That's probably the best way to sort of sum things up about when I talk about feminism. However, there does need to be a distinction made between the feminists of, say, of long ago, and the feminists that were post-sexual revolution feminists. And that's when you get into, like, say, the Gloria Steinems, and you get into this sort of what I call militant feminism. It's really the beginning of the gynocentric social order, began right after really the advent of hormonal birth control, and then the sexual revolution that took place after that. That was the most logical outcome of hormonal birth control that was unilaterally controlled by women. And you get like the sexual revolution, you get women's liberation, you get, we're casting off the chains of being just wives, and we're going to get into the workforce. You see all of these social changes. Whenever you look at statistics, whenever you look at, say, abortion rates, which we're going to talk about today, whenever you look at women in the workforce, you will see the spike begins right around 1965, right? As the introduction of hormonal birth control was introduced into Western cultures. What do you want, Tony? Rollo, thank you for giving me more steak than sizzle. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm trying to. I think I'm starting to get known for my thumbnails as being sort of baity, like super stink bait. But you always get nutritional value out of my junk food. I hope you continue to do so. You're wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, you are welcome. And thank you for the kind words, by the way. Rollo, this is a bit off topic. You need to go check out Ruslan KD interview with the roommates, Christianity versus the Red Pill. I will check that out. Actually, you're not the first one to suggest that to me, Funky Boy. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I will. I will definitely pick that one apart. I might even do a short form video of that. It's a short form for me, right? I've had other people suggest that, so thank you for that as well. So I wanted to get into why we talk about gynocentrism, because I think it's very important to the conversation that we have according to red pill praxology. Because a lot of the stuff that we deal with today, when we rattle off the term like feminine imperative, like the stuff that I kind of take for granted. I hate taking it for granted, because I know that there are new guys that are coming into this and like, what the hell is he talking about? Feminine imperative, gynocentrism. There's no such thing as an alpha. What's this hypergamy thing? Let's go look it up. Oh, it means marrying up. No, it doesn't. And unless you're sort of educated in all of the, like, again, the red pill praxology, you're probably going to have a lot of questions. So one of those questions, of course, is terminology. And I think the more pertinent to what's going on sort of in I guess, Western society today is what is gynocentrism? A lot of people want to throw it out there and say, oh, it's misandry, right? And there's misogyny and there's misandry, and I think there's efforts to popularize the term misandry. We don't hear about it very much, or we only hear it like sort of in confused connotations, anyways. So unless you're sort of in the men's sphere, in the red pill sphere, you probably don't know exactly what misandry is unless you go and you look at the dictionary definitions. But then there's the things that are kind of unique, I think, to the manosphere or to the red pill, sort of communication here. A lot of people want to say that, what'd you say, Telly? So who is sending the invites to the Taliban? Hold that thought, my friend. Hold that thought. Keep that one. Sam. Keep that one in reserve, because we're coming back to Telly's. Definitely coming back to that one in today's show. So it sounds jingoistic, right? It sounds like lingo. People don't understand what the acronyms are. What's SMV? I don't understand. Sexual market value. What else? SMP, sexual marketplace. Alpha, beta are just simply abstract terms. I talked about this before when I was breaking down how people misinterpret what alpha is and what beta is. They want to use sort of semantics and definitions to sort of disprove the red pill. It's like it's funny to me how, or I was going to say dismiss the red pill. So when I'm talking about gynocentrism is essentially this. It's this social order that we live in right now that is feminine primary. I explained this in my first book, as I said, really in the feminine reality. And essentially what I was trying to get at that time was to define what the blue pill was and how the blue pill conditioning that these generations of men have been subjected to has led to a society like I shouldn't even say multiple societies, multiple social orders since really 1970, let's just say, I'm rounding it off. Those social orders have been based on what is best for women. You've heard me make this estimate before, where I will say that the predominant sexual strategy of today is hypergamy. It is the sexual strategy that defines the social order. And it only exists in the gynocentric social order. It only exists when we say we want to put women's needs first. We want to put women in politics. We want to put women in religion. We want to put women in teaching and education. We want more women in the workplace. We want more women in male space. And what happens when you get women in male space is you get a redefinition of that space according to female experience. And that's really what I think gynocentrism is, or a feminine primary social order. Whatever benefits the female experience is what is correct. When I refer to feminine correctness, I always put it in quotations. I'm not actually saying, oh, it's correct. I'm just saying we have this fundamental belief that whatever benefits the feminine, and I'm using females, the female experience in life, whatever benefits that is the correct way of thinking about things. So you've heard me use this before, like and again, I will throw the quote out there. So everyone, this is Camille Paglia, we raise our boys as if they are defective girls. Why? Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because we have so many female teachers in our social order right now, because we've flooded certainly our public education, even our private education, with the feminine primary social order, with more female teachers than there are male teachers. Men don't want to be teachers. I've covered those stats before. From primary school, from preschool until you get to postgraduate school, the likelihood that your teacher is going to be female is 77% more likely than it is to be a man. And that's if you're a guy, whatever sex you are, going to college, of course. But as a guy, you're looking at a decline in education, really, but a decline in college enrollment, college graduation, graduate degrees, doctorate degrees, postgraduate degrees. Primarily, it's women that are getting educated, and they're being educated in a education order, or let's just say a social order, that is gynocentric. Everything that is being taught to you is gynocentric. So when people go, oh, I wouldn't want my kids to go to a major university, because certainly not my daughter, because she'll turn into this rabid, purple-haired, multicolored-haired feminist. She'll turn into this horrible being, right? You've probably seen those pictures on Twitter, on social media, whatever, where it's like the before and the after shot, where the young lady, the girl's like 18 and she goes to Berkeley and then she's 22 or whatever. And she looks like this nice, well-adjusted, young woman who's got you ready to take on the world. It has all these dreams of like going to college and, getting prepared for her future. And then by the time she's 22, 23 years old, she comes out and she's got, she's got the septum ring and she's got the hot wild colored hair and she's got a feminist YouTube channel with like 500,000 subs, whatever. Whatever you guys get. I'm making this extreme as I possibly can. I get it, but that's the joke, right? You don't send your kids to university because they'll get educated and they'll turn out communists, right? They'll turn out socialists. And I think that's kind of sad because honestly, when it comes to education, I believe that education should be a very liberal education, but it should, and I don't mean that in terms of like liberalness. I mean, like it should be like, you should have access to a lot of learning, let's just say. It is valuable to be an educated, learned man and being educated in ways that you can speak to a lot of different topics. I don't think that's what's going on in major whatsoever. I don't think that's going on whatsoever. But goodbye, skinny Rollo. Wait, where to go?
Bye, Felicia.
There you go. You get that every time I kick you. Let me see. Oh, or did you already block him? Okay, thank you, Sam. Sam's with it, man. Sam dropping the ban hammer, the Sam hammer. That's what I'm going to call it from here on out. The Sam hammer. Fuck around and find out. So going off to college, and I kind of had an epiphany about this. With the amount of money that we pay our teachers, at least here in the United States, I can understand why men would avoid like getting into teaching. I mean, think about all the things that you have to do. You have to actually be learned on a particular subject. Then you've got to learn how to teach. You've got to have teaching credentials, and it requires a lot of money to go into your education just to be a high school teacher, just to be a middle school teacher, just to be able to like teach history or to teach other than mathematics and probably your coach, you're probably not going to have a male teacher when you're in high school. I would argue that the male teachers that you have are probably either teaching what was, like a physical science maybe, or, but for the most part, your teachers are going to be female because that seems like a good idea. It's like men don't want to get into teaching for a lot of reasons. One of them is it's very low paying. And then the other part of it is that, men are looking for prestige. I mean, like who would want to date a male teacher? Right. I mean, you're lucky if you're going to turn $50,000. The only way to make money, by the way, in public education here in the United States is to get into administration, not teaching. So, you teach for a little while and then hope you get to be the principal of the school at some point. It's a labor of love. It's a personal thing because we're not paying teachers nearly as much as we should be to educate the future generations. I'm going to show you why that is here. So when you look at the disincentives, let's say, for teaching, yeah, men are not going to want to get involved in that. And I know you're going to say this. So here you go. There you go. Right.
Bye, Felicia.
Well, the disincentives of it is that it's not remember we talked about money, muscles, and status. It's not a high status job. It's not a high paying job. So men are probably more likely to avoid that. And yes, I will address this as well, as like a lot of guys don't want to run the risk of getting into being the only man in an all female teacher school. So when you have, and for a lot of reasons, right? For sexual harassment, for whatever it is, impropriety, I don't care what it is. If that guy does not toe the party line, if he's not a male feminist, he doesn't get along with the ladies in the lunchroom. And imagine going through all those years of college and paying all that money to get that degree and to get your teaching credentials and everything else just to lose your job and your career for some false accusation or from even just suspicions. So it doesn't really make much sense. That's a problem, though, because we need male teachers. We need men in education now more than ever. So when guys complain about how we have, the universities are chock full of socialists and feminists. Yeah, of course they are, because it's only women that it appeals to. Yeah, when you're paid like $40,000 a year or $36,000, I don't know what the starting salary is for a high school teacher, and it's largely women that it appeals to, and they get into that. Yeah, of course they are. Communism sounds pretty good when you're only making, $36,000 a year. We should all. And so the reason I'm harping on this right now is because I said this on last week's show when I was talking about the differences in how men and women understand certain topics. Like, last week was respect. I talked about love before as well. Like, men and women do not share mutual concepts of love. Men and women do not share mutual concepts of respect. Men and women also have different approaches to teaching in the schools, in our school systems. You want to know why we raise our boys like defective girls? Because women teach those boys as if they're little girls, or that those little boys should learn like little girls. That's the proper way. Remember what I said. It goes back to the gynocentric social order. The female experience is the correct experience. And if Johnny can't learn like Susie, then Johnny goes to timeout and we medicate him and we sedate him. And we say, Johnny, you have to go into that corner and you take your meds and then come back when you're ready to learn. Like the girls. Like a good egalitarian, like a good berry picker. So you do that for generation after generation, and you know what you get? You get this. You get where we're at right now. And the dominant social order is gynocentrism. Sorry, ladies, it is not patriarchy and has not been for a very long time. So let's cut the shit. Let's cut the shit when it comes to patriarchy this and oppress our oppressors that. And yes, I'm going to show those videos. You know what I'm talking about right there. So when you hear some woman talking about how oppressed they are, we're dating our oppressors. I'm going to show you some of these videos here in just a second. But before I do, let's get to these real quick. Sid said, we've become so accustomed to the feminine imperative now that any conversation regarding male-centric society seems vile and toxic. Yes, it does, until that guy is useful. That was I wrote actually in this book as well. It was a chapter called The Honor System. And that's actually a really good topic. Thank you, Arsid. The honor system is that whatever is useful to whatever part of conventional masculinity that is useful to the feminine imperative, that is reinforced. Whatever is not is toxically masculine. That's how convenient it is. When you put women into a position of power, I'm not saying we're in a matriarchy. Okay. Like, track with me here. I'm not saying we're in a matriarchy. I'm saying we are, because we're in something worse than a matriarchy, which is gynocentrism. It's this prevalent idea. It's really a meme is what it is. Again, you guys know I've been sort of studying memetics lately. It's a meme that says whatever is best for women is the correct way to run society. It's the correct way to be. That's how you get Gavin Newsom talking about they're better at science, or they're better at civics, they're better at politics, they're better at this, they're better at that. Women rule. Okay, this is convenient bullshit on Gavin Newsom's part, because what he's doing is he's trying to tie his re-election cart, or tie his recall cart to what's going on with the abortion laws in Texas right now. That I talked about. Well, it wasn't Texas, it was Mississippi, but I said this would happen. Rollo said this would happen. I'm going to show you when I said that. But whatever works for women, whatever part of conventional masculinity, anything that like makes you conventionally male, if it works for that woman at that time, like protection, provisioning, and protection, or and parental investment, that's not toxically masculine. Oh, step up. I'm the dad who stepped up. Yeah, that's not toxically masculine. Oh, you're going to support me and my babies? You're a man with benefits? Oh, you're a real man. Here's the real man medal again, right? What do real men do? Real men don't care if real men don't care about single mommies. Real men don't prioritize their paternity above everything else. Real men focus on what women want, what women will decide is the correct way for you to think. So whenever women say a real man does X, generally that's whatever works in the interests of either the female experience or women in general, whether it comes to health, insurance, money, whatever, emotion, whatever it is. Whenever you hear women say a real man does this, or even men, right? I mean, like guys, blue pill alphas for that, for example. A real man takes care of his kids, right? That's the old Chris Rock. Like, a real man takes care of his kids. Yeah, you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to do that. That's a given. That's why is that even honorable? Why are we even bringing that up? Well, because we want to reinforce the idea that we still live in this patriarchy while we're living in gynocentrism. Because the moment we recognize that our society is shaped by female correctness, by gynocentrism, the moment we accept that, we have to accept that patriarchy is over. And so feminism and female oppression and all the victimhood and vulnerability that women feel, that only exists so long as there's a patriarchy. So long as there's this endemic, remember what I said about, like, if you put culture after any term like rape culture, bro culture, hookup culture, whatever culture, anytime you like attach culture to as the suffix, like as the ending to whatever it is, you make it endemic. And that's really what patriarchy is, or the notion of patriarchy. Oh, we all live in a patriarchy and it's the men at the top are just there's so many powerful men and they're the ones it's the old boys network, blah, 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 blah. No, it doesn't work that way. Sorry, not anymore. And that's the apex fallacy too, by the way. I saw one chick on Fresh and Fit sometime this week who was trying to make that case. Well, these guys go onto the golf course and they make these big business decisions and they lock women out. Well, why don't you learn how to play golf? Well, and that's neither here nor there. But again, it's this sort of hokey, understanding of like the old boys thing. Like, oh, the old boys go to the golf course and then they decide what's going to happen to people. No, that's not what's going on. And if it is, that's at the guys at the very tippy top of the pyramid. And then there's all these women that make the rules for all the guys that are below on the bottom part of that pyramid. That's the apex fallacy. It's a presumption that the extreme example of whatever it is you're talking about, doesn't have to be feminism, but whatever you're talking about sets the rule, right? And women are very good at that, by the way, I should say, because women tend to personalize any issue. So if you're talking about, like, say, abortion, right? Or you're talking about like women's rights, or you're talking about, I don't care what it is, and you make a sort of you expose some unflattering red pill truth about women's nature, what will happen is women will almost universally default to, well, as a woman, in my case, I speak for all women, as if their anecdotal sort of experience should change your mind about what you're seeing as a general truth, as an objective truth. That's the solipsism aspect of women's nature, by the way, that the world revolves around them, that anything outside themselves is there to serve their experience. And again, going back to female correctness, we have exacerbated women's innate natural solipsism by giving them everything they want, by saying, yeah, you're right, your solipsism is true. Yeah, the world does revolve around you. You want to know why women get such inflated egos and have such overblown senses of self post social media? That's why it feeds into that innate solipsism. And again, I'm not trying, people will say, well, he's saying that we're selfish little bitches. No, I'm not saying that. Solipsistic, yes, because innately you had to be solipsistic because women are the vulnerable sex. They had to be more self-concerned than anything else. That's why men are the disposable sex and women tend to be the vulnerable sex. Men have an innate protector dynamic for women and children. That's why guys say, women seem like children. Yeah, innately they do, because you feel like you have to protect her and you have to protect the kids. Sacrifice, kin altruism, all that stuff. That's part of your firmware, by the way. Jump in front of the bullet. But I don't know the woman. Doesn't matter. Instinctively, you're going to get, You're going to try to protect the female, try to protect the children. That's again, read book 4. I talk about that in there. Big head babies. Go look it up. So when we're dealing with solipsism and we're dealing with a gynocentric social order that amplifies that solipsism, then yeah, you get women who get easily offended whenever they don't have a rational, objective counter argument to whatever the unflattering truths that the praxology of the red pill shows them. You want to know why all these accountability shows are so popular? Because the indignation that's generated from saying, no, women are actually like this. And they don't have, who hurt you? Like, you get to that point. Yeah, those are very popular shows because in a gynocentric social order that is premised on female correctness, that to push back against that is like being the purple cow. It's like people want it. They love it. Clearly they want it. You know, clearly you could build an empire off of that, a financial empire, a podcasting empire off of that. Because that's the indignation. Women love that. Women sign up to have that, to be held accountable. So there's something endemic about it. So anyways, let me keep going here. I'm gonna grab a couple more. Timaeus, thank you for that $10. Let's see. I got a $20 down here too. I see an orange one. Hang on. Oh, Renegade Show says, imagine the constant hell of being a male teacher. Yeah. Who is in constant danger of being me too. If he doesn't toe the line, speak the right words, and teach the accepted narrative. Yes. Now imagine this. You don't do that and you push back against that narrative, and your revenue and your well-being and your family's well-being and your future depends on being a good boy. Do you want to? So knowing that, do you want to be a teacher? No, you probably don't. It's not because men are pussies. It's not because men don't want to be teachers. I'm sure they do, but it's a very low paying job, very low status job, and a high risk job of losing all that stuff. If you push back against the narrative that's already installed, that is endemic to the education system right now. You're going to find out I'm going to show you the extent of that here in just a second. Ancient teachers were always male. Yeah, and they should be. Aristotle, didn't Aristotle Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. Right, there's your history lesson. Ooh, look at the big brain on Rollo. Rollo's been sending some of your videos to a friend in New Zealand to help counter the direction his country is headed. Appreciate the work. Hold that thought too, Guru man. Because I'm going to get into that today too, because when we look at countries today that are female-led countries, going against what Gavin Newsom was saying here. No, actually, female-led countries such as Australia are creating concentration camps for dangerous people who have COVID and they don't want to get their vaccine. They're installed. At least this is the rumor, anyways. There's supposed to be an app where you have to take a picture of yourself and where are your whereabouts? Accountability, right? And let's see, the prime minister. I watched this video of this woman who I guess she's the prime minister. Prime minister? Do you have a prime minister? President? Whatever, of Australia. And she's there and she's talking. And I'm like, who in God's name elected this person? I presume you have democratic elections in Australia, right? Who elected? What? How did she get to where she's at? And then she's got an interpreter standing next to her in the worst dress she could possibly be wearing because she looks like a walrus. And she's doing her little sign language kind of thing. And I'm like, this is the state of Australia. This is where Crocodile Dundee came from. This is, you guys kicked ass in World War II. This is the best we got. And I've seen, I'm not, this is not a political show in any way, but it's like, where are the Australian men? Have they been educated in a feminine primary social order? Probably, maybe. How do you get that woman as a prime minister? If you follow me on Twitter, I have a kind of a common thing that I do every now and then when somebody shows me an image of, or like a video or something of like something political or something social, and there's a woman who's involved in it, I'll go, elect women, get this. If you elect women, this is the result of you electing women. I'm trying to raise awareness of that, but that's essentially the thing. You put women into a position of authority. Teaching is one. Put them into a position of authority. What is it? I saw this. Somebody said, remember, it was Andrew Cuomo when he stepped down and he resigned as the governor of New York. I hope I'm right about that. Yeah, the governor, when he stepped down, he was governor. He was replaced by a female governor, a new female governor. She just stepped down. How does that happen? I don't know. Was she the lieutenant governor? Probably. She steps in, and all the articles that were written about this was, oh wow, it's great. He's being that scumbag sexual predator is being replaced by a woman, so things are going to get a whole lot better. Now, if you go and you look at who the mayor of San Francisco is, you might change your mind. If you look at the governance of a lot of the, like, I'm probably gonna get run up the flagpole for this, but if you look at like Portland, Oregon, and Portland, Oregon's a guy though, but if you look at like the governance of those, where we would normally say that this is sort of urban blight, look who is running that state. Now, people are going to say, well, what about South Dakota? There's a female governor there. Yeah, we're going to get to the conservative side of this today. Thank you, Lauren Southern, for this inspiration. But the articles were all about how Andrew Cuomo had been replaced by a female governor. And that, what was it? For the first time, I don't know if she's the first female governor or whatever, but the stories that were run in the wake of all that were only 60% of, or excuse me, only 40% of states haven't had a female governor like that. And that's how they built. That's like the headline for the stories. Like, yeah, that means 60% of them have been. So it sounds like to me that you've already passed that 50% of equality mark right there. Well, we need more women in the Senate. I should also say this is in my own state in Nevada. I think it is something like 80 or 90% of the state senator for the state legislation here are female. Sound like equality to you? Sound like that was the original goal of feminism to you? Because it doesn't sound like it to me. And more we're seeing in a gynocentric social order that feminism was never about equality, and it is still never going to be about equality. Let's see. What do you have here, Jack? Oh, I got to you. Let's see. Men had tamed ourselves and our instincts not to take women with force. Women often don't want to tame themselves and stay ill-mannered. Ill-mannered. That sounds like Downton Abbey or whatever the hell that show is. You're so ill-mannered. Let me educate you. Oh, you said that already. Oh, this was it. Okay, here it is. This is the other orange. My bad. TH. Off topic. Put in your hat for later. 20-year-old Diana they sleeps with 40-year-old JFK. Okay. Knows he is married. Okay. Figures the relationship will fail. Yeah. Bangs him anyways. 3+ years. As you say, women love opportunistically. Yeah. Well, there's probably certainly an opportunistic aspect to that. Did she fall in love with the guy? I don't know. Maybe she just wanted to bang him because he's a powerful dude. What did Henry Kissinger say? Power's the ultimate aphrodisiac. Yeah. Look at Henry Kissinger before you take any advice from Henry Kissinger. Hey, Rollo, I've started reading the Roosh V stuff. Okay, right. I hope it's the old stuff because his old stuff is still pretty decent. I wouldn't go with anything past 2015, but that's me. Right. I really enjoy the way he writes. I know he's a bad rep. Are there any caveats I should keep in mind? Yes. Don't bother with Roosh past 2015. Look at the date on the article and then go from there. Hey, Rollo, how much of this do we think is being propagated maliciously by rival countries? Well, if you ask John, no, you're not crazy in thinking that. And I'll explain to you why. I don't think it's so much a plot, so much as it is opportunism on the part of, let's just say, China in this case. But, and again, this has always been something that has been as you are seeing right here. As a matter of fact, this is actually Gavin Newsom is a great example of this. Gavin Newsom he's a Democrat, right? But Republicans do the same thing. And they will ride, tradcons or leftists, whatever you want to call them. They will ride on the sisterhood. It's the sisterhood uber alles, the sisterhood of women. Like, again, that's part of the gynocentric social order. So it doesn't matter what the politics are or the religion is or the ideology or whatever your personal worldview stripe is. Feminized men and women in general will use the sisterhood to prop up whatever it is that they want to get to, wherever they want to go. It's what God saw it, and I think probably Dr. Jordan Peterson have called, and other people. They didn't coin this phrase, but it's sneaky fucker reproduction strategy for guys, male feminists. And there are male feminists on the conservative side and on the leftist side as well. That's why I say sisterhood uber alles. It is the sisterhood above everything else, above all. And you're looking at Gavin Newsom right here, trying to ride the coattails or hitch his cart to the abortion outrage that's been going on in Texas. And I don't have the video of the protest march or the crowds. I was going to throw it in there, but I'm really already video heavy today, so I'll get to that in a bit. But that's the truth. The truth is that both, I don't care what the ideological stripe is or what the country is, they will use the sisterhood to advance their own ideology, advance their own interests, just like Gavin Newsom is doing right here. You want to know why Andrew Cuomo stuck around for so long, even with, or why is Biden even in office right now? He's got plenty of women who came forward. We just swept all that under the carpet, didn't we? Right? What happened to him, like kissing on kids and stuff like that? What happened all? But he's happy to use Elizabeth Warren. He's happy to sing the praises of Kamala Harris, who didn't get past the Democratic primaries. Let's remember that, okay? But he's happy to build that up because that is a meme in a gynocentric social order that will always play well to female emotions and men with female emotions. Rollo, what do you mean when you say hypergamy is not a straitjacket? Go look at the hypergamy episode. I get into that in minute detail, okay? Does marrying up connect to hypergamy in specific period of time? Okay, you're using an old definition you're using the dictionary definition of what hypergamy is. A much more broadly defined than just marrying up. Go watch that episode. I'll link it. I'll put it in the description if you want, or somebody go give it to him. Off topic. Oh, good. Another one. Off topic, but currently dreading my LTR. I noticed her getting comfortable. How should I respond to her complaining about the drop off in attention towards her? Tell her to go to the gym. Scott Morrison, because that's the only thing I can think of as to why you would have a drop in attention to her. Scott Morrison is the Prime Minister of Australia. Then who's that chick? Is she like Jen Psaki? Is she the one that's is she the one like making the press secretary? Is that what she is? I could be wrong. I'm not Australian. Forgive me. Scott Morrison. Thank you. Okay. And he's a conservative. Oh, really? And building concentration camps in Australia. Let's see. I do know who is female prime minister, and that's that chick from New Zealand. And she was notable, by the way, because, and I'll throw this out there really quickly, is when Afghanistan fell, when the United States kind of bugged out of Afghanistan, I thought it was interesting that the very first comments that were sort of official comments, even by the United States and Jacinda Ardern, whatever her name is. The first comments that you got was, what about the women? You want to know, like, people have asked me this before, like, oh, I don't believe that Rollo guy. We live in a patriarchy. Clearly we're in a patriarchy. Men run the show. No, we live in gynocentric social order. How do you know? Show me, mister. Okay. All I have to do is really make red pill lens and be sensitive to what's going on and see it because it's all around you. And here's a really good example of it. As soon as the choppers were lifting off from the fall of fall of Kabul, the first thing out of female leaders' mouths was to make an appeal to China and to the Chinese premier and to Russia to ensure the safety of women under Taliban rule. That was the first concern. It wasn't the trillions of dollars invested over a 20-year failed war, whatever you want to call it, honestly, I think it was really sort of a testing ground for the military industrial complex, but that's another show. You look at the lives that were lost in this. You look at the military hardware that was left behind, billions of dollars in military hardware that was left behind. You look at the fact that China is now buddy with the Taliban and with Afghanistan right now, and probably going to in some way use them in their policies with Iran and Iraq. You look at all this stuff that goes along with all. I mean, geopolitically speaking, this is a disaster for American interests. But what about the women? Let's think of the girls. How are they going to go to school? Who gives a fuck, man? Look at this disaster. Look at all these dead bodies. Look at all these guys that died over the course of 20 years. We don't say jack shit about. That's not your first concern. That's not the first thing that pops in your head, because that was the first thing that popped into my head. This is a clusterfuck of epic proportions, and you can lay that right at the feet of 4 presidents. Maybe not so much Trump, but like certainly George W. Bush, certainly Barack Obama, and now certainly Joe Biden, who pulled us out of there. And I would say, would we have the same opinion if it had been Trump pulled us out? I don't know. That's neither here nor there, because he didn't do it. But I think in a gynocentric social order where the sisterhood uber alles creates the narrative for us, the first order of business is, what about our girls? What about, they're going to have to go and put burqas on, and they're going to have to go back to being oppressed. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that, but that's the first thing that we think about. And I mentioned this back when I did a full show when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. I think it was about this time last year. And I was looking at some of these Twitter videos and these TikTok videos of women just going apoplectic in their cars. Oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's gone. Trump is. In fact, people are bringing her back up again. That they were in their cars and they were saying, "Oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dead. Oh, what are we going to do? They're going to take away our right to abortion. Trump's going to put someone in there that's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, a woman's human right to choose," right? And I mean, just bawling their heads out and tearing it's like gnashing of teeth, man. It wasn't, she died. It wasn't that a person's dead. It wasn't the fact, I wonder who's going to be that wasn't the concern. There's a lot that the Supreme Court does a lot of things that have nothing to do with Roe v. Wade. Absolutely nothing, or women's issues in general, right? But that was the first concern, and that was all we heard. Oh, she was there. She was the first line of defense. You got children's books being written about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then it was like the Handmaid's Tale ladies. Oh, we're gonna walk around with our little white hats and our red robes, and we're gonna pretend like the HBO show is actually real. Come on, man. So now that Texas has decided that they're going to change abortion laws, they're going to at least put some limitations on it. Let's just say, people are losing their minds, as I predicted. But you know what they say? Now they're saying that they hate Ruth Bader Ginsburg because all of this is her fault. And that was just Texas. Remember, this isn't a federal thing right now. It'll get there. But because as I said before, the Mississippi abortion case, or probably even the Texas thing, will end up at the Supreme Court at some point, and that's what they're worried about. That's what the feminine imperative is worried about. That's what the sisterhood uber alles is worried about. And so what do they say? Oh, damn that Ruth Bader Ginsburg to hell! This is all her fault because she died in office. She should have. The story is Ruth Bader Ginsburg held on and wanted to stay in office because she wanted to. She was waiting to die before the next American president could be, and I quote, installed into office. She had thought that she actually had placed her bets on Hillary Clinton being president in 2016, 2017. That didn't happen. So she had to hold out, and she couldn't. She actually died in office, and Trump was still in office. And as a result, now we have Amy Coney Barrett in there. And I honestly, ladies, I think your worries are misplaced, because I think even the conservative judges in the Supreme Court are still going to side with you. But that's just my personal opinion. But what I find ironic right now. I would love to go. I should go back and dig up those videos. I find it incredibly ironic that now we're talking about how this old white woman who died in office is the reason for all this shit that's going down. And if she had just, resigned during Obama's years, then she would have been, she would have been like, none of this would have happened, right? Obama would have put in a Supreme Court justice that would have, had the interests of women in mind, and that would have been that. But she held on because she thought that she wanted to be replaced. And she told her granddaughter this on her deathbed, that she wanted to be replaced on the Supreme Court by the first female president. And that's who she presumed was going to be Hillary Clinton at that time. Nope. But now they're throwing the dead corpse of Ruth Bader Ginsburg under the bus. You want to talk about how schizophrenic the Sisterhood Uber Alice is? There you go. So that's that. Let me keep going here. What'd you say? Yeah, Kamala forgot the sexual predator allegation when Biden put her in the ticket. Yeah. Conveniently paying tuition to our godfather. Oh, thank you for my tuition. Tuition fees are going up, baby. Thanks for your books, your knowledge to deliver us for free. I'm looking forward to Robert Kiyosaki giving his thoughts. Actually, it's funny. I got Robert Kiyosaki in my DMs right now. What are you saying, Robert? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to actually be talking to Robert. Oh, by the way, if you enjoyed the video for the crypto video that I did with Charlie and Miguel from Cultivate Crypto, and I also had Robert Kiyosaki on. I was actually turned out to be a really fun. It was more than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was a really great show. It really built up. It's only an hour long too. And yes, are you shilling for Cultivate Crypto? You're goddamn right. I'm shilling for Cultivate Crypto because it's a great course. I'm proud to say I'm a part of that, to be an affiliate of that. And I'm glad I could bring Robert Kiyosaki on for his input on that as well. I am going to be doing, we're planning this anyways. Don't quote me on this, but I'm planning a series with Robert Kiyosaki that's more red pill oriented. So that's something that's coming up. And then people have been asking me about my interview with him on his show, on his the Rich Dad podcast. I did that back in July, and it's still in the can. They still have it on tap. I have been informed by his people that it's going to be sometime this month. So once it's available and it's up for download or listening, you will be the first to know, because I'm going to make a big deal out of that. And then just to finish off announcements here real quick, because at the top of the hour, yes, book 4 is in the approval stage right now with Audible. So Religion, the Rational Male Religion, Audible will be available this month. They say it's about a 7 to 10 day process. Sometimes it gets done sooner. It just depends. I think it's going to go really quick because it's very well produced. I love it's not Sam Bada, I'm sorry to say, but I've got a new reader that is that's working on it, and it came out pretty good. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So, but that will be available this month as well. So check that out when you get a chance. And again, I'm going to make a big deal out of that as well. The male midlife crisis is a male epiphany when beta males naturally get theirs. I forced my alphaization, all right, by going through consecutive breakups from Tupac changing views on women. Yep. Hi, Rollo. Does abortion boil down to not letting beta genetics get in? Yes, I've said this before. If the father of the pregnancy was DiCaprio, would she abort? No. I have said this before. I will say this one more time here. Abortion and the absolutely psychotic fervency that women will go to maintain legal, safe abortion is because abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. Oh my God, did he just say that? Yes, I did. It is the ultimate expression of hypergamy because what it is it's a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. There. That is the uncomfortable, unflattering truth that no woman wants to discuss. I think one of the reasons, like I'm not saying, I've never been on any show and I've never written any essay or any chapter in any book about whether I'm pro-abortion or I'm anti-abortion. Okay. I've never said I'm pro-life or I'm anti or whatever. Okay. Pro-life, pro-choice. Okay. I just work here. In fact, I'm not allowed to have an opinion about it because I have a penis. So therefore, you don't have a uterus, you don't go through birth, so therefore you don't have a say, Mr. Man. Okay. So if that's the case, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly why it is that women have abortions. It's elective, overwhelmingly. In the states that are allowed to keep records of it, because not every state is even allowed to keep records of the reasons why women have abortions. Women will always say, oh, what about rape? I don't want to be forced to have a child that's not mine. Ugh. And I'm not saying you should, but rape accounts for a fraction of 1% of the reasons why women have abortions. And then the pregnancy was dangerous to the woman. That was another one, right? Actually, the pregnancy being more dangerous to the woman as a cause for abortion is actually higher than actual rape, at least in the state of Florida and the other states that I was able to find information on this. Now, I have done this show before because I'm going to show you the show here. I've shown the stats for this. I've already done episodes on this. Don't ask me for, well, where's your stats? Cite your sources. Go to that goddamn video and watch. Don't be a lazy fuck. Go watch that video. I did it. I do this. I'm putting so much goddamn work into this. You know, I can't redo every show on every show, but in the states that allow for record keeping, because not a lot of states do, that's the case. Overwhelmingly, let's just say, I'll be generous here. 93%, 95% of abortions that are performed are elective. In fact, there's this really cutesy, stupid ass meme that's going around right now because of the Texas abortion thing, and it's like, oh, it's like this pie chart. Like, why do women have abortions? And like 60% of it says elective, and then there's another percentage on a little piece of the pie that says none of your business. You know. It's her body, her choice, unless, of course, you're going to get stuck with the COVID vaccine, right? And it's just stupid. It makes all the little pie pieces are just basically mind your own business. You're a man. You don't have a say. You know what's funny is only in a gynocentric social order do you not have a say in the human reproductive process as a guy. Well, I did and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. The show that I did on women senators, actually, either senator or a congresswoman from Florida was saying, oh, we need to make mandatory vasectomies for guys, like reversible vasectomies. And I thought that was interesting back in May because I knew what was coming. In fact, let me throw that one up there really quick. This was I have it queued up. So I'm gonna show you how accurate my predictions were. Here we go. Whatever the going definition of it is right now. However, the root fear, the root reason why it causes this right here is because it's the existential fear. It's removing reproductive choice from women. It's removing the ability for women to say, I choose that guy and I don't choose that guy. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Again, I'm holding up the mirror here. Okay. I just work here. I'm just telling you why this is it is so compelling. And it's to the point of obsession for women right now that they have to make it in terms of comparison. And I'm going to talk to you guys here in a second. That's why I started bringing up, that's why I prefaced this with the idea of binary extremes. And, oh, well, if you say one thing about one guy, then you have to say about women, then you have to say something about men, right? Okay. Or vice versa. We don't have that conversation when it comes to men. And I'll tell you why, because women lock men out of that conversation. If you don't have a uterus, you don't get to say anything. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then why do I have to consider something about men when I present some statistics that are unflattering to women? You don't have a say. And that's what really pisses women off, right? Now, again, let's rewind the tape here. We go back to hypergamy. We go back to our evolutionary firmware. We go back to our ancestral past. When a woman is breeding with a man or is reproducing with a man, let's just say. Remember, that's the breeding. Having sex with a guy is the proximate cause. The ultimate cause is, of course, the ultimate purpose, I guess, is to reproduce. Right? So when you remove by inch or by mile control over that process, over women's control over hypergamy, that's when they start to lose their minds. So when we start having this conversation, and we're going to, and this is why I did today's topic, we're going to have this conversation very soon. in the Supreme Court of the United States for sure. And you're going to see this amplify. The reason why you have these, you will see she's doing this right now. There's Sam Bada's. Sam, I'm going to give me the link to that. Put that link in the chat to that YouTube video if anybody wants to watch that later, and then I'll put it in the description later on. There's another video that's very similar to this, but this is the narrative. As I said before, this is the narrative. You have to follow the narrative, but the reason, the latent purpose of that narrative is the existential fear. Losing 100% unilateral control over the reproductive process. And that's pretty much what we've given women since about 1965. I mean, technically you could make a case maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but the fact remains that once we invented hormonal birth control, we sort of incrementally ceded power, or acceded, I guess would be the word, right? There's your vocabulary word today. We've given over the reproductive process, at least in Western cultures and Westernizing cultures right now, over to women. That's why she's losing her mind. I think she's in Norway. Is that what she was saying? But that's why they're losing their minds right now. And it's not because, I mean, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, the first thing out of women's mouth was, oh my God, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. That was the first thing. It's not like, oh, she's gone. Oh, she did a lot of good things. Oh, she did this, or she did that. No, the first concern was, we're going to lose the right to have, on-demand abortions. And that's the conversation that we're going to have. I believe it's the Supreme Court, probably in fall, is going to take up a case in Mississippi about late-term abortions. Imagine that. Now, personally, if you're going to ask me, I don't think anything's going to come of this. We've seen this happen over and over and over again, but it's going to be a very nice distraction from other things for a while. But the reason why it's such a big deal, and the reason why you're seeing videos like this pop up right now in May, is because probably around October we're going to have this is like what's called tilling the fields, right? You've got to have so they can be harvested later on in October, probably, because I think they're going to consider the Mississippi case in October. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't think that they have a date for it just yet, but there you go, like that. Let me pull that out. That was from my show about vasectomies. I was trying to be really kind of super stink baity with the title of that, but that was back in May, and I was responding. Actually, I was doing Chik Tok videos, and that one popped up in my Chik Tok suggestions. And again, this is this woman that was in Norway talking about how, the male orgasm is the reason for abortions. Right? I mean, it was just absolutely just more like inane reasoning. But the thing is, I saw all of these videos start cropping up right around May, because there was this announcement, or there was this, I guess it was in the news, I don't know, but the idea that the Supreme Court of the United States was going to take up the abortion thing, right? They're going to, whatever, I don't know what the exact rules were, but they were going to reconsider abortion. Now Texas is jumped in, so most likely that, because as far as I know, the Mississippi law is still on the books. I'm not really sure, but if I'm wrong about one thing, it was the timing. I'm usually, what's funny is I still stick to my prediction that Kamala Harris will end up being the president of the United States. I just missed the time frame. My bad, but you'll see. Hear me now, believe me later. I paid my bills. I paid my debt. I paid my bet to John from Modern Life Dating for that one. I just got the timing wrong, but I'll guarantee you that's going to happen at some point. But this will also happen at some point too. Again, tilling the fields. That's really what's going on. Here's a really great one. Let's check this one out.
The Republican Party built the Taliban army in Afghanistan, and they're currently building the Taliban army in Texas. That's right. The Texas Taliban is terrorizing women in Texas. They're letting them know that if the Taliban rape you and you get pregnant, you have to carry that terrorist baby to term. And if you don't carry that terrorist baby to term, you can be sued $10,000 by the Taliban. And I'm guessing more than one Taliban soldier can sue you. And the Taliban can sue not only the person getting the abortion, the person driving them to the abortion, they can sue the doctor that provides the abortion. Don't let them build a Taliban army in your state. Make sure you vote in every single election, every single one, because the Republican Taliban army is coming.
Sounds ominous, doesn't it? This is the level of psychotic paranoia. This is the level of this is where the narrative is right now when it comes to all this stuff. Now, remember what I said about, remember when the video I just showed you of myself back in May tilling the fields? Well, time to harvest. Here's the harvest. You're going to be forced to have a terrorist baby. Like it is just beyond extreme. It is beyond like absurd. But there it is. And we have, and oddly enough, that's on TikTok. I actually use that as a Chik Tok video, huh? So there it is. So you're dealing with terrorists, Republicans, conservatives, people who want to put some sort of limitation on your ability to have that fail safe for bad reproductive choices. Is the Taliban now? They're terrorists now. Sound like gynocentrism to you? Gynocentrism. Wow. But over meanwhile, in California, we've got Gavin Newsom telling us that women are smarter and they're better at civics and they're better at politics and they're better at all this stuff, right? No, Gav, you're way better. You're way better than women are. You know why? Because you're leveraging their bullshit against them to get you get out of jail, get out of recall free card. This is the stuff that like people keep saying, oh, well, those red pill guys, they think they're alpha and they think they're, it's all about pickup artistry and how to get the girls and stuff. No. I wish it was. I really wish it was that simple. I really wish it was just about like, these guys, how do I get laid? Rollo, help me. I'm an incel. That's not just what this is raw in your face political red pill stuff that is right there. It's the nature of women on display. You just have to have the willingness to want to look at it. Put on the red pill lens. See this shit for what it is. This lady is literally comparing people to the Taliban who don't agree with her opinions on who should be in control of reproduction. Well, shouldn't it be women? Shouldn't they be this? Okay, fine. But when that happens, I'm not saying like, why is it that we will say, well, how come men can't say, well, I don't want to have anything to do with the child, right? How come I can't bug out? We'll make him a villain for not upstanding, not for not paying his, child support or his parental investment. Well, he'll be a villain, but he's a villain who didn't have any say in it because he has a penis and not a uterus. Why is that? Why would that even be a thing? It seems to me, objectively, rationally, I'm the rational male, right? It seems to me like objectively that men ought to have a say in the process. They ought to be able to say, hey, I don't want to be supportive of that. Women can go and literally can go to a sperm bank and choose who the hell they want to reproduce with, or go online in the Netherlands, apparently, and find a guy, for a sperm donor. And that's that. And there's, that it's her choice, her body, her choice. Right. And nobody thinks any different of that, but before the sexual revolution, before the rise of gynocentrism, before the rise of militant feminism, you didn't have these questions. We had stigmas. We had shotgun weddings, right? If you got pregnant before you were married, that was a great dishonor to your family. That was a social stigma throughout Western cultures, right up until about 1965, 66. And then it was the superhero mom does everything. She can do it. We don't need no man. That narrative came into play. And now women can electively have abortions, and women can electively have pregnancies too, apparently. Cut men out of the reproductive process. You only get that in a gynocentric social order. It's not, people say, well, what? It's the laws. Yeah, it is the laws. Those are the result of the gynocentric social order. It's also our attitudes towards it. It's like a guy saying, I saw this, somebody gave me a video of this one comedian, this chick who was talking about like, I don't understand why guys are against abortion, because it helps you get laid, right? It helps you, like, if abortion just facilitates your sexual access. It's just a form of birth control. No, it's not. Not by a long shot, but you wouldn't even be having that conversation prior to 1965. So it's the gynocentric social order is not just about legislation. It is mostly about that. It's mostly about politics. It's about social institutions. It's about our religion. It's about everything. And I don't think enough people really realize where it got started and how we got to this point. And I'm going to show you some other videos that are probably a little bit more disturbing even than this. So I think I'm going to start with let me get to some of these other ones here. What did you say, dude? Man is built in God's image. Eve was deceived by the serpent and was told she could be like man, like God, right? Adam was the first recorded beta male. Women are naturally distilling society into a matriarchy. It's not a matriarchy, my friend. There's no, see, a matriarchy would be by women for women. Okay. It's a gynocentric social order is actually, I would say, more dangerous than a matriarchy, because matriarchy, you've got essentially, I mean, by definition anyways, you've got one female leader. You've got a group of female leaders. There's actually, matriarchy is centralized. Gynocentrism is not centralized. It's just how the last 4 generations, and probably going into the 5th and 6th generations of humans since 1965, have been raised. Casual sex. I'll tell you what's funny is like when people hit me up and they go, Rollo, casual sex is wrong. Well, telling somebody who was born in 1968 that casual sex is wrong is like, it's like speaking a different language. But if you were born prior to hormonal birth control, if you were born in an era like my mother-in-law is, what's she pushing, like 675 right now? I've had conversations with her where she would say if a woman was pregnant in high school, or a woman was pregnant when she was 18 or 19 or 20 years old, that was a great dishonor, not just a religious thing, but also a family thing. And that woman had to be put away. That's what she said. They had to put her away. She's from the South. I was like, what the hell is put away? So, she would have to go and live with her grandparents or grandma and grandpa, and she would have the baby and she'd put it up for adoption. That's how she talks. Or else that baby was raised by the grandparents, because that was how, that was the level of stigma for having a child out of wedlock. And usually it was, you had to do the right thing as a guy, right? That was a shotgun wedding thing. It's like that was socially enforced monogamy too, by the way. That was like real harsh socially enforced monogamy. You want to talk about patriarchy being sort of this balanced system? There was an expectation that if you knocked that girl up, you were responsible. And back then, of course, you had the authority to actually enforce that responsibility, but there was still the expectation that you were going to be responsible for that child and that woman. Now, because you put a baby in her. Now it's elective. Now we don't have to worry. Now the reproductive choices, now the reproductive process of humanity is unilaterally controlled by women. And don't give me this crap about, you keep your dick in your pants. No, we'll get to that here in a second. Actually, you know what? Let's not get to that in a second. Let's do that right now. Where'd this go? This is a good one. So this was, I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that abortion or like the sisterhood is just one-sided. That is just about, those purple-haired feminists. It's Lena Dunham, right? They're all purple-haired feminists. They're all wacky rainbow coalition people, right? They're crazy. No, they're not. This is a tweet from Lauren Southern today. Now, I know Lauren. I'm not trying to take digs at her. I don't know where is the video still on Twitch? I'm not sure. I did call it a debate, but I did a talk with her about a week and a half ago. Lauren says this. She says, I'm against abortion. Okay. But the main pull for women to get abortions is not access to abortions. We need to address the lack of support and shame women feel around motherhood. So it's not so much about the abortions. It's that women don't want to be mothers. So we're gonna make this a social, and in a way she's right. She's harping on she's hitting the right. She's playing in the right key. The shaming of young mothers, the shaming of mothers doing it alone. Now this is where we drop it. The lack of community help. Well, let's just be honest here. The women doing it alone. If you wanted an abortion, you can have an abortion. If you wanted to do it, again, abortion is largely elective, like overwhelmingly elective. But what happens after that is really up to the choice of that mother. So let me continue. She has a little bit extra on here. It says, if women felt like motherhood was celebrated and beautiful rather than a drag that will destroy their life and make others look down on them, I know many would reconsider abortion. The it takes a village mindset has also completely disappeared culturally. It's just her alone. No, not one bit, Lauren. It takes a village is, we can see, you know how we know it takes a village? Because right now, at least in Canada, and I don't know if it's Australia as well, but certainly in Canada, there are laws on the books right now that if your child doesn't take the shot, doesn't get stabbed, the jab, stab, whatever, they can take your kid away from you. That's the village taking your kid away from you. The village thinks it knows what's best for your children. The village is being taught by purple-haired activists, political activists. The village is right there. The village is all around. It's all around you, Lauren. It takes a village is female emotionalism. That is what I call the goddess movement, by the way, in my fourth book, The Rational Male Religion, available on Audible this month. The village is everywhere. In fact, gynocentrism is the village. A feminine primary social order is the village. Feminine correctness is the village. We raise our boys like defective girls. That's the village. Raising your defective boy or your defective girl boys, right? Transgenderism, that's the village. All of that is the village. It's not about like, oh, we should all get together and take care of each other, right? Again, and now I can't stress this enough because this is the basis of all of this stuff, is that women and men have are different, right? We have different concepts of love. We have different concepts of respect. We have different concepts of how best to organize society. Men tend to be more merit-based, hierarchical. That's how you get capitalism. That's how you get a military organization. It's the man at the top and then the guys you stagger down from there. You got the general and you got all the chain of command down from that guy. I hope I did that right. You have the female way of organizing society, which is communitarianism, which is egalitarianism, which is the village. It is women, one for you, one for you, one for you. It's redistribution of wealth. There's never been a more female way of organizing society than redistributing resources. That's why we have such strict divorce laws. You want to talk about how, or child support laws. I was just talking about Nick Cannon and all, his baby mamas. And then we were just talking about PJ Washington and Brittany Renner. Now, I don't know if this is the case. Maybe I'm capping, right? But from what until I get further information, PJ Washington is paying $200,000 a month in child support. Why? Because the village said you need to take care of those kids, right? You're responsible for those children. And these are the rules that we're going to make. That's the resource redistribution. You want to talk about resource redistribution? That's it. Brittany Renner is being rewarded for her misandry. She is being rewarded for having a kid. The kid is just remember I talked to you about the cult of the child and how women will put the interests of the child above everything else, which is really just sort of to deflect away any sort of criticism about what that woman had to do to get that support and have that resource transfer to her. That's what she's doing. This is the cult. This is a great illustration of the cult of the child. Use the kid as a human shield for your ideology. Put the kids out front. If you're against what Brittany's doing, if you're against what my ideology is, and the kids can see it and you can't, then you're against the children. Nobody wants to be against the kids, and that plays, by the way, to the male protector dynamic. What'd you say? Scream Feast. I'm naming my band Scream Feast. My next band will be called Scream Feast. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for telling us the truth. Your books have a great effect on my sons. God bless you. Thank you. Please, here it is. Go get it. Available on Kindle and Audible, and you can get it in print. Clearly, people ask me, "Hey, can you give me a signed copy of that?" And I've told people I could do it, and I do, but I do it on special occasion. I do it if I can do it, but if you see me walking down the street, if you see me at the gym, I'll probably sign your book for you. Vince, what did you say, Vince? If women got what they wanted and had unlimited access to on-demand abortion, do you think that boys would be aborted more than girls? They already are. Actually, in some countries they are. I will say that. Okay, maybe this is an outlier. I don't want to be anecdotal here. I try to look at the general whole. I don't have stats on that, so I don't know. But I have seen tweets from, rabid foaming at the mouth feminists saying, I hope I got pregnant. I hope I don't have a boy, because if I do, I'll have to abort it. Or like women who take fertility drugs and they have 2 boys and 3 girls. They abort the 2 boys. I've seen stories like that. Now, is that the general norm? I'm not saying it is, but that's definitely something to think about. Yeah. I would be more concerned with this. Is Brittany Renner is not going to abort the child of PJ Washington. She might abort the guy that she had sort of drunken one nights, kind of like regret sex with. If the guy was a beta male, do you think that it was a penniless beta male? Do you think that that Brittany would have had the kid? I don't think so. Because what we've done is we've commodified and commercialized the human reproductive process along with that. Let's look at the facts here. Okay. The number one resource transfer between men and women is divorce. Actually, it's the number one way that women acquire wealth, like lots of wealth. And as the birth rate goes down, and as the marriage rate goes down, and the divorce rate goes down, the divorce rate goes down, right? So that money or that resource transfer is less available than it was, say, in the 70s or the 80s. Maybe it wasn't that much money, but it's like crazy now. $200,000 a month from PJ Washington. And I think the crime is not so much. PJ Washington was stupid. All the signs were there. Everything was there. But everybody, what is it? Success has a million fathers, but failure is a bastard child, right? And so what do? We throw all that blame at PJ Washington. We say, you should have known better, you beta chump. Yep, should have. Okay, settled. Brittany Renner is a clearly predatory female. She set the trap. If you fall in the trap and you're an idiot, you see the trap and you fall in the trap, yeah, you're an idiot. But who set the trap? Who dug the trap? Who put the spikes in the bottom of the trap? Who put the baby in the bottom of the trap? Who did this? Who was the one who set this trap? Right? Don't they take some sort of responsibility for the whole situation of having the guy fall in the trap? Yeah, I would say so. But we don't want to talk about that in a female primary social order. She's getting hers. Now, I'm not saying that women aren't like calling her out on her bullshit, moralistically speaking, but we're focusing primarily on the failings of the guy to not have seen this in the first place. We don't go, well, she was upfront about it. She told everybody in the world that she was going to be this opportunistic, predatory bitch. Yeah, and now there's a kid involved in all of this. At what point are we going to hold women responsible for their actions? At what point are we going to say, you know what, maybe I'm not my sister's keeper. Maybe she has some sort of culpability in all this bullshit. Because we've given women power, well, certainly since 1965, we put women into positions of fempowerment. We put them into the workforce. We put them in politics. We've raised them up they're in religion. We've raised them up way higher than we probably ever intended to. But at what point do you go, okay, well, you know what? You have all this authority. So with that, where's the responsibility? There is none. For men, it's 100% responsibility, 0% authority. For women, it is 100% authority and 0% responsibility, or mostly 0% responsibility, or it can be. Again, I'm saying this with I'm going to stick an asterisk by this. It's not that every woman would, it's that any woman can. That applies not just to abortion and divorce and everything. That applies to a lot of different things. It's something to keep in mind, because in a gynocentric social order and feminine primary social order, where the female experience is the correct experience, and we don't even question it in that social order, that's when you got to say, okay, ladies, you got to pay some of this bill. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying men are just off scot-free. We pretend that men should have 100% responsibility. And as long as we're doing that, we're going to be stuck in neutral. We're going to be stuck where we're at right now. So I want to point that out. Now I'm gonna you know what we're gonna be stuck with. Let's add this girl to the stream really quickly here.
This is probably gonna piss off a lot of people. But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor. Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist. Because a self-aware man knows.
Just pointing this out, I'll continue here, but that is first of all, that's a logical fallacy because it's unfalsifiable. So if you say you're not, only a misogynist would say he's not a misogynist, you misogynist.
That he has it brainwashed into him. And any time that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor. Almost all women have sexual trauma and emotional abuse trauma, literally just from society. And she's taking a risk in being with you and making a commitment to help you undo your brainwashing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't date the opposite gender, but a lack of awareness can
but I'm kind of am. I'm not saying you shouldn't date the opposite gender, but I kind of am. All right. Do you like that? Okay. Keep that one fresh in your mind. Okay. I'm going to try to reserve comment here until we get to the rest of this. But remember what she just said. You're dating your oppressor. Patriarchy, right? We're still in a patriarchy. You're dating your oppressor. And men, if you're a misogynist, if you say you're not a misogynist, only the Messiah would deny he's the Messiah. We can think about that Life of Brian line. There's no way out, right? It's an unwinnable thing. And that's to this girl, to this mindset, to the female primary social order, this sounds like logic. How do I know that? Well, All
of manhood is defined by our oppressor. Like, part of oppression,
I'm sorry, what was that? Men are our oppressors? Okay.
Of living in a repressive society is the fact that even the oppressed have internalized the consciousness of their oppressor. Freire talks about this in Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And so it's like a lot of even oppressed people don't want to be free. They want to be white. They don't want to be free. They want to be rich. And it's because they have equated that with freedom. Like, that is how they understand freedom.
Okay. This is a really good example. I got to stop it here because this is a very good example of what I was just saying a moment ago, where the way men tend to think in hierarchical terms. Yes, money makes a lot of difference because it helps us solve, first of all, it helps us solve our reproductive problems, but it also helps us improve our life. It also helps us provide for our tribe. Our first tribe is our family. And what you're going to hear her say here in just a second, I stopped it here because what she's going to relate to you here in just a second is exactly that village mentality that I was just talking about Lauren Southern's tweet about. Okay. It's not so much about motherhood or all this other stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We should encourage motherhood. I got it. Right. Okay. We'll make it beautiful and fun again. Let's make motherhood great again. Okay. Got it. Thank you. But the village, the idea that we need to, what happened to the village? The village thing got co-opted by Hillary Clinton a long time ago. Actually, she's used that terminology before. A lot of this language keeps repeating itself. Did you hear that again? Like oppression. Oh, we're dating our oppressors. Oh my gosh, almost like you want to. Almost like you have Stockholm syndrome. Almost like the war brides dynamic is real. Maybe that crazy guy in Reno, Nevada in the high desert somewhere in a secret location knows what the hell he's talking about. And yes, I came up with that terminology. Women have an innate Stockholm syndrome. They have to. I talked about this in the war brides episode. Go look that up. But whenever you hear somebody using that in the neo red pill or whatever the hell's going on right now, just understand that that's actually a chapter in this book written in 2013, or actually compiled and put together in 2013. So what she's going to say here, she's going to say, well, and this is actually a really good example because she just doesn't understand. She just doesn't understand. She thinks it's a class struggle thing when it's not. It's a conflict between how men would organize society versus how women would organize society. And because we are in a gynocentric social order, anything that is outside of that, anything that is non-supportive of the feminine imperative is like speaking a foreign language. They just don't get it. It does not compute.
And so it takes a conscious reckoning with yourself in order to root out the oppressor's consciousness that has been deposited in you before you can ever even be free yourself, even understand the reality of your situation, understand the reality of your being, of your humanness. And I don't think enough people realize that.
Okay.
Our model.
Okay, so let me pull her out. There we go. All right. And the reason why I use this, people go, well, who cares? It's just some random chick, right? No, this is common. And I'm about to show you, I'm about to prove to you how common this is. So you think, oh, you're just picking out the stuff that you're just, well, you have a confirmation bias, right? No, this is where this is at. If you go, by the way, if you can go, and I pulled these from the, the Libs of Tik Tok, I think it's a Twitter account, which actually has made the rounds, actually, I think in the mainstream media recently. But I'm pulling this stuff because they do the legwork for me. And there's enough of these on there that this is the commonality. Now, what she said at the end of this is like she made a comparison of to be human is to think the way that women think, is to be egalitarian, is to be gynocentric, is to be communitarian, is to align yourself and your ideology and your worldview and your personal beliefs and your religious beliefs, I should say as well. Everything that is in support of the sisterhood is human. Did you get that? That's really important to remember, because if you don't think the way that the goddess movement thinks, if you don't think the way that emotionalism is the correct way of thinking, if you don't think like a woman, you're not human. You are dehumanized as a result. We just had this one chick who's saying, oh yeah, the Texas Taliban. They sound pretty inhuman, right? They sound like the devil, man. They sound like the enemy, right? So if you can go and make that comparison or make those connotations and say they're not human, that's them's fighting words. So I'm not human because I don't prioritize things the way, because I'm a man and I don't prioritize the things the way that a woman does. Or I disagree that the best way to organize society is in a communitarian way rather than a hierarchical way. You want to know why? Again, going back to what I said earlier, you want to know why teachers in our school systems right now are producing communists, right? Or that I didn't put this girl in, but I'm sure you've probably seen this video. The girl, I think she was a California school teacher, and she was taking down the American flag and putting the rainbow flag up and making the students pledge allegiance to the rainbow flag. And I think she got removed. I'm not really sure, but that's ideological indoctrination is what that is. That's not education now. We've crossed that line. We've crossed over that. We've actually crossed that a long time ago. But the reason for that is because at least 77% of your teachers are going to be female, because teaching is a female-centric place. So we put women we've given them the authority of educating certainly the last 3 generations, certainly the millennial, well, at least the last 2, right? I mean, I had male teachers. I'm Gen X, thank you. I'm not a boomer. No, don't give me that boomer crap. But certainly the millennial generation and certainly the Generation Z have been acculturated and educated and socialized and conditioned by women who don't have any clue, any inkling of the fact that there's any other way to think besides communitarianism. So again, why is socialism such a great idea? Why is it that saluting the gender flag or the rainbow flag? Why is that? What does that seem? And to the point where she's proud enough to put it on TikTok, proud enough to, hey guys, like she's going to get support, and she probably did, until they said, sorry, you're out of here. Why? Well, because you're teaching ideology. You're hired to be an educator, not a proselytizer. And that's what it is. Again, a case I made in my book The Rational Male Religion, book 4, is that emotionalism is the religion of the day. So they have, and how do you say that? Well, because that movement has religious symbols. That it has ideology, it has beliefs, it has mission statements. I saw this actually when I was in Lake Tahoe not too long ago. I was at a very nice vacation rental. Here's story time. Here we go. And I was there and I kept looking at all these houses, and there's some really nice, and if you know anything about Tahoe, it's been on fire for the last, week and a half. It's a pretty affluent place. I mean, it's not cheap to live in Lake Tahoe, but I'm looking at these houses and they've got these little placards or these little like stick in the ground kind of signs. And some houses have like the American flag hanging. And the next one has this little placard, this little sign that's stuck in the ground. And it says, in this house, we believe love is love. And, no one is illegal. And I wish I could recite it to you because I don't remember all of the articles, but love is love. No one's illegal. Science or something about science. I can't remember, which is kind of ironic. And basically running down this litany of sort of progressivist ideals, worldviews. And I was looking at this and I was telling my wife, I said, that is a statement of belief. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said this, I said, when you go to a church, maybe a Protestant church, you go, maybe a Catholic church, I'm not sure. You go to a church and you go there for the first time and they hand you the little brochure. They hand you the little, newcomers, welcome, you get that little thing. And in that, usually, I'm not saying that everyone does this, but usually in that little brochure and the welcome, the newcomers, the new believers, it has a mission statement of beliefs. In this church, we believe the Bible is the unerring word of God, right? And whatever, and goes down all the list of the things, their statements of belief, so that hey, I'm in the right place, right? That is exactly the same thing. That little card out there is a pledge of allegiance. That little card right there is saying, this is what we believe in this house. It's the same thing. It is a religion, and it is a religion of emotionalism. Again, book 4, Rational Male Religion. Get it. It's coming out on Audible. But this is where this is. The people who are educating your children are indoctrinating them in a religion. They're not teaching you history. They're not teaching you something. And here, Rollo, how can you prove this? Oh, well, quite easily.
Sexuality, I choke up and joke that the answer's not easy. Like I'm watching a Disney movie and the couple gets it on. But who should I look at? Is it Shang or Mulan? I like boys and girls, but I still don't know why I couldn't get either one. If I really tried, I'm switching my preference like an on and off switch. If I had a dime for every crush I've had, I'd be rich. Like
that? Yeah, let's pull her out of there. Oh, that wasn't enough? Okay, how about this girl?
This comment was put on a video that had absolutely nothing to do with politics, but let's dive in because teaching is political. The education system, the curriculum, school zoning, funding, standardized testing, all of these things can create and further lead to class and racial inequalities and impact life chances for our students. Especially as a history teacher, my students deserve somebody who is going to confront and challenge the injustices and untruths that are in our history that have led to discrimination. So yes, teaching is political because as we develop curriculum and have conversations with our students, equity and anti-racism need to be in the forefronts of our minds, as well as giving our kids the means to gather factual information and form their own opinion. But this is wildly different than indoctrination or propaganda because I'm not trying to sway my students' opinions. I want them to form their own educated opinions. What I'm doing is challenging a broken system and hopefully laying the groundwork for progress and justice.
No, that's actually not what you're doing. Because you're hired to actually teach history, teach what happened, teach the objectiveness. Where on earth is the obligation? You've heard me say this before. Where on earth is the obligation to objective truth? Oh, I want them to think about. They can give. If you're a good teacher, you should be able to teach them critical thinking skills already. Don't teach them what to think. Don't teach them what to think, but teach them how to think. And that's the problem that you're going to have with this, because what this is really amounting to is, here's the way you should think. Think this. Now, we've heard a lot of language here. Let me throw this on. Let me catch up real quick. Men are stuck in the servitude because women vote. Yeah, and you're never going to you're not going to get away from that. I got that question from Giuseppe last stupidly. I'm not reading your super chats when I'm talking about crypto, Giuseppe. But this goes to what you were saying, and you're probably Defraya, whatever it is. And every goddamn super chat you throw at me is, wait a minute, should women's right to vote? Should we repeal the 19th? Yeah, but you're not going to. So it's a moot point. I've answered this about a gajillion times. Okay, yeah, repeal the 19th. Yeah, go. Tell me what your plan is. What do we do after the revolution's over? I don't know. I want somebody else to do it for me. I'm not hitting on you, pacifist. I'm just bringing that up. Let's see. Did I catch anybody else here? No, I didn't. And if I missed your super chat, I will definitely go back to it, and especially Telly's, because I'm going to Telly. I'll read yours right now. So, who is sending the invites to the Taliban? That was pretty good. Sorry, I can't go back to it and put it on screen. Telly also said, alphas / women run the world. Betas will go extinct. No, they won't actually. There's still a need for beta males. And was that the one I was looking at? I think that is. Okay, I picked it up. All right. Now, you heard a couple of these girls talk about like oppression. Like, oh, you're dating your oppressor. I love that one, right? That's on par with the old school militant feminism of the 1970s that said, any sex that a woman has with a man is effectively GRAPE. Grape. Can't even say the word, right? How do you know you live in a gynocentric social order, Rollo? Well, you can't say the word. You have to say the word grape, and people have to figure out what you mean by that. That's how you know. The Afghanistan, if the Afghanistan example didn't explain it to you accurately, just go look at what the algorithm is censoring you for. Now, and yes, I was seeing that these are your teachers, right? This is where we're at right now. And you think, oh my God, how do we get to this point? We constantly hear guys talk about, oh, don't send your kids to school. I heard that, or take your kids out of public school, homeschool your kids. Well, they won't be well adjusted in society. Good. I hope so. I hope not. Right? Pull them out. I used to be anti-homeschooling, by the way. I used to be anti-homeschooling because it tended to be more of a religious thing. Like religious parents didn't want their kids to learn about evolution. That seems so like mundane right now. And I've changed my opinion on that. Yes, I can be wrong. I would say homeschooling is probably a good idea now, but not because of that. Because of this. But yeah, so communism, socialism, communitarianism, it stems from the way that women would run societies. And that's through communitarianism. That's through socialism. That's why it seems like a good idea. Redistribution of wealth. You want to know another thing is, and this really pissed off a lot of feminists, is that Joe Biden was running on at least the sort of implied promise that he was going to do debt forgiveness of student loans. Well, why was that such a selling point for him in the last election? Well, because two-thirds of student debt are held by women. That's why. Oh man, get him in there. I want to be free of my student debt. Or education ought to be free. You should be entitled to K through 12, and then whatever it takes to get a bachelor degree, I guess. I don't know, or associate's degree. I don't know. Like, we should all have, education should be a human right. Yeah. Look who's teaching you. Yeah. Public education. Sure. Who's teaching your kids? These people are teaching your children. People like them are teaching your children. Should you pull your children out? Or should you say, you know what? We're going to make our own schools. You know what? We need more men to step up and get in. And I know it's taken on the chin, whatever, but like, we need men to teach kids. We don't even want to leave our kids with like men that we trust and know. Oh, I wouldn't want to do it. There's still that kind of like, really? That kind of stuff. There was a case. It was back in, I think, 2017. It was this guy who was actually a surgeon, and he was in the children's department of Barnes and Noble in Arizona, and very famous case, by the way. And he was asked to leave the Barnes and Noble because he was there looking at children's books in the children's section by himself. And I guess he gave off the creep vibe, right? Oh, he's waiting for some kid to come along, and they kicked him out. Turns out he's a very well-known surgeon, and he sued Barnes and Noble for that, for kicking him out. Now they kicked him out because he's a man in the children's section of the Barnes and Noble. Now, he was looking for a children's book for one of his grandkids. That's all he was doing. But apparently somebody said something somewhere along the lines, and he got booted out, and he took him to court. I think he settled out of court. But that's a really good example of like how we don't trust men. We don't trust men with our kids. And how did we get to that point? It didn't used to be that way. You know, we want to. I tell you what kills me is, especially, usually this is a conversation around Father's Day. Men need to step up. Men need to be the ones who be fathers and be involved. And not, it doesn't have to be Father's Day. It could be any day. But women will say, women will say this all the time. Men need to be. Yeah, they want you to be the man that you want. They want you to be when it's convenient. But watch my kids. I'm going to go out. I need a babysitter. I need a babysitter. She need a babysitter. We want we need somebody who's going to be a controllable man, a masculine influence. But when it comes to when it comes to conventional masculinity, we don't want what doesn't work in a female primary society. We don't want what is not female correct. That is a natural, innate part of male conventional masculinity. We're afraid of that. We're to the point where we'll legislate against that, where the guy gets kicked out of the kids department because he's, looking for a book for his granddaughter. So where did all this start? Where did this begin? What happened? How do we get to this point? This is insane, right? Well, remember what I always tell you, and I've said this before, I will say this again. Whenever I watch or I'm on the show with Fresh and Fit, and it doesn't have to be that show. There's this other show now called, what is it? Red Pill Overdose or something like that. Trying to sort of like pick up the same template that Fresh and Myler have been doing. But whenever there's girls on there, my question is, where did they learn this? They use the same language. They make the same mistakes. They have the same sort of default taken for granted beliefs. You're 18. And where did that come from? Right? You're 22. Where did that come from? Why do you think a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle? Why? Oh, I can't find any good men. Well, why? What's your definition of a good man? Like, they won't be able to tell you where they picked up that meme. I can tell you. In fact, we're going to talk about it here. Now, this guy, and I have to preface this really quickly. This is from the Poor Boys podcast.
Well, what is it you want done? If you could.
Okay, so hang on. This is I forget the name of this guy. This is on Poor Man's Podcast. PMP. That's right. And by the way, dude, if you want to do a collab, like of the new guys that are sort of like filtering into the manosphere, the red pill communities, this dude, and I don't know your name because you don't give your name. This was a stroke of genius, by the way, and I would very much like to do a collab with you. So I'm gonna put this on here. Was it a Poor Man's Podcast? I think at PMP. He put this up just yesterday or today, and this is Hugh Hefner clashes with feminists on the Dick Cavett show. Why you brought this up is like it amazes me, because this is exactly, and I wish I would have thought of this sooner. I thank you for your contribution here, because this is where the language comes from. This is the Dick Cavett show in 1970, and it is Hugh Hefner talking to feminists. Now, this guy, the host here guy, he gives some of his breakdowns. I might scroll past a little bit of this, but this is where, listen to the language. This is 1970.
Wave a magic wand now that would release you from the yoke of this oppression that you all talk about. What would do it quickly? Is it a whole change of attitude in the Western world?
Yeah. It's a change in education, really. Women are brought up in really hundreds of ways. I mean, from the time they're 2 and 3 years old, to be cute and coquettish and intellectually unserious, to seduce people instead of saying what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be what we would really like is for there to be no necessity for seduction in the world at all. And particularly for there to be no necessity for women to seduce men to get what they want.
Well, now, there's some of you, and I find it hard to not say some of you, because there are different voices speaking for the women's liberation movement.
That's very interesting, because she's assuming that women seduce men because they have to, and not because they want to, because they love attention in a lot of settings. And if they can find the easiest route to get to where they want to go, they'll do it, which is pretty much human nature across the board. Men will use the easiest route to get their results. Right. Women will use the easiest route to get their results. And that's no surprise. And this is what you see when it comes to OnlyFans. It's just the easiest, it's the path of least resistance, right? It's the easiest way to get the money you want. So that kind of idea, I think that's going to be a tough one to fix. I don't think that we're going to ever be at a time where women aren't using seduction.
Now, I'll scroll up a little bit further in here. He's right. You're 100% right, dude. You also have to remember this, is that when it comes to seduction, and remember, this is 1970. This is well before the 48 Laws of Power, which was 1998 was when it was published. Was it Art of Seduction, which was actually published in 2000 or something like that, 2002. Art of Seduction, Robert Greene, to his credit, will tell you this, and it's true, is that in all seduction, there has to be willing participants. If a person does not want to be seduced by you, they will not. They have a resistance to it. They will not be seduced by you. It's not some magic power. You have to want to be seduced, and that's the real hard reality, I think, for women, is like when it comes to seduction, or like when we've talked about pickup artists and everything. Like guys in the early pickup artist movement or scene, I guess. They used to read our Art of Seduction, right? Red Queen, Art of Seduction, and Selfish Gene. Those were like the big mystery method books that you were supposed to read. And even I have a problem with some parts of Art of Seduction, but he's right about the fact that you have to have a willing participant. Nobody can be hypnotized who doesn't want to be hypnotized. If they're like resistant to you, that you have to sort of like be sort of you got to be vibing with them, right? And so this seduction thing, but that's not really what she's saying here. It's this idea that men have this sort of magical power of seduction over women, or that women have this magical power of seduction over men, and they're doing it without their express, consent to be seduced, which is bullshit. But when you look at these girls again, and we'll see him here again, like listen to the tone. I don't think these girls are. Well, one of them says she's 35. So one girl's like 35, one gal is 35. I don't know how old the long-haired girl is, but a lot of the language is exactly the same thing that you hear today.
To get the results that they want. Prostitution is one of the first,
Optimistic about the ability of men to change. We think there's going to be a struggle, and we don't think that men are going to give up their power and privilege easily, because they benefit.
I love how you can smoke a cigarette on a show back in 1970.
From oppressing women. They really do. Hefner has built an empire based on oppressing women.
Yay!
Is she talking about the same men that have fought and died in wars throughout human history to protect women and children? Or is she talking about the same men that invented birth control, or the ones that invented tampons?
I'm glad he brought up birth control, because I think that's probably the most important aspect of that. But again, and in this case, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying this is the wrong tack to take. Oh, well, men built this world. I hear Kevin Samuels use this constantly. Well, the computer you're on, a man built, or he thought about it, right? Or he built it, or he, conceived it, kind of thing. Yeah, men essentially are the creators in this world. Are they the oppressors, though? That's the real question. And yeah, you're right. And yeah, we should probably think about that. But the operative here is the fact that she believes that men can change according to social constructionism. That men don't naturally, innately see women as sex objects. We do. Sorry. In 1970, we might not have had the data to actually prove that, because we didn't have the brain scans that show that when a man sees a half-naked woman, whether it's in a centerfold or whatever, sees a full naked woman somewhere, that it triggers the part of a man's brain that is associated with tool use. We know that now. We might not have known that back in 1970, but the idea was everyone is a blank slate and everything is socially constructed. In fact, everything that these two women talk about, in fact, the entire feminist movement, really in total, but certainly the militant feminist movement of the late 60s and early 70s is all premised on social constructionism. That's why I say kick out the legs of blank slate equalism and kick out the leg of, well, really emotionalism, but social constructionism, and feminism falls crashing to the ground. You want to know why so many people have such a hard time with evolutionary psychology and Evo bio and really, more updated versions of, like, say, sociology and anthropology, is because it shows that things are a lot more deterministic than we used to think before. Certainly, and I'm not saying it's totally that way. I'm not saying that, social, learning doesn't have anything to do with your software. It does. But our innate abilities, our genetic abilities, our biologically innate evolved differences between men and women are a whole lot more determined by biology and DNA than they are about social constructionism. But if social constructionism is the only framework in which you're going to build an ideology, that's called feminism. And it's a failed meme, and it's a failed ideology. It's a and provably failed, because we have data now in the 21st century that shows that this certain aspects for sure prove that, yeah, men do objectify women as sex objects. That's the way we evolved. That's what we're supposed to do. What was it? The other study was when men see a woman, they don't see her as a whole. They see her as a list of parts, right? And this happens instantaneous. This is on the instinct hindbrain brainstem level for lizard brain for men, right? We see women and we look tits, ass, hourglass shape, right? The hips to waist ratio. We look at face, we look for symmetry, and we do this in the blink of an eye. And cross-culturally, by the way, I should say. So it's not just a Western thing or this thing. It's this cross-culturally, human males see women as a list of parts before they see them as a whole. I'm not saying that men don't see women as a whole. They do. But before that happens, in the first instant, that's what happens. I think what's interesting is we have that one, that one meme or that one maxim, it was from the 80s, right? A woman knows within the first 5 minutes if she's going to bang you. Now, I've sort of revised that and said a woman knows within the first 5 minutes if she's not going to bang you. But we're happy to still repeat that. But if I say, well, medically speaking, statistically speaking, neurologically speaking, men see women as objects first and foremost. They're trying to say, I said, why is it that a half-naked woman triggers a man's area of his brain associated with tool use? Because he's trying to solve a problem and he needs a tool to solve the problem. And the problem is reproduction. That's what it is. That's why I see you as a list of parts before they see you as a whole. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. If that's all if the guy was just this robot, I only want boobs, right? And all you need is just disembodied boobs, then yeah, maybe that's a problem. But eventually I'm going to say, okay, some of your parts. But that's the problem, is that early feminists and late feminists in the 20th century and the 21st century are still clinging to the idea that social construction is what's creating the patriarchy, or the horrible, evil men have got, hey, come on, guys, let's go in the back room here and we're going to see what we're going to do to the little ladies. Bullshit. It's not social constructionism.
And pads, which exclusively benefit women. I don't know of any inventions that I can think of, at least. Maybe you guys can give me some that women have created exclusively for the benefit of men, like men have done for women when it comes.
This is funny, okay, and he's right, but that I don't think this is really what he ought to be focusing on with respect to the conversation that's going on here. Now, this is the good stuff. This is the really good stuff. Now, this is the highlight of today's show, and thank you, Poor Man's Podcast, for illuminating this.
With you, Mr. Hefner, because you said it would be like putting Stokely Carmichael on with George Wallace. I don't know which of you is flattered by that, but
feels like Wallace, eh?
I don't know which of you is which, but have you had this reaction before tonight?
Yes, I think Playboy's been singled out along with, the Miss America contest and some other things as, as the extreme example of what the new feminists feel is the wrong image for women. But, having been described as an oppressor, can I respond just a little bit?
All right.
I'm more in sympathy than perhaps, the girls realize with...
Women.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm 35.
Than the ladies realize. I use girls referring to women of all ages.
You should stop.
You want to be called a boy.
Right. There it is. Okay. So just real quickly here, because I gotta call this out. I'm a woman. What did you hear Emma say when I remember the Emma Thorne videos that I've done where I've kind of like broke down her stuff? One of the things that she gets really bent out of shape with is when guys, incel guys or whatever, call women females. No, we're women. No, use my pronouns. Sound familiar? Use my language. Change our language. Stop using girl. Stop using the language that I don't want you to use. I made the observation yesterday. There's this, I don't know how this came into vogue, but there's this one college professor who wants to stop using uppercase letters in the English language because it's hierarchical. There's never been a more egalitarian push for changing society than use the language I want you to use, and that language is going to be equal for everyone. We're all going to one for you, one for you, one for you. Yeah, we're all going to lower our expectations and change the language. Literally changing the language. This is where this began. You'll hear them use the word. We've already heard it. Oppressor. And patriarchy and everything else. You'll hear that already. But she wants to get snarky, and of course she's probably on the Dick Cavett show, and of course the audience. And this is a live audience, by the way. They're all cheering for the feminists in all of this. And does this not look like we're going to pillory Hugh Hefner? Now Hugh Hefner's on his game. This is like peak Hugh Hefner. Now, Hugh Hefner has done a lot of things that I think are kind of like whack. Like he wanted to align himself with the feminists. Like he was trying to, you'll see here later on, he kind of like has a little bit of wiggle room. He leverages the feminist movement to make more money, which is exactly what I would expect from a hierarchical, merit-based way of thinking that men have a natural proclivity for.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I get it. I guess. I get it.
I always felt it was complimentary, but
never thought you'd have your mouth washed out for saying girls.
No, that's right. I'd never thought of girl as being, but I think there's validity to it. I think there's validity. I'd never thought of it as being, condescending.
Look at that. Look at that. How I roll my eye. Because
Your magazine has an image of women at an arrested development.
Well, let me respond. Let me respond for just a moment, and then we'll
May I
really
just say
kick
that
it back
the ladies
and
in your
forth.
magazine have the opposite of arrested development?
Now here. Now, first of all, the girls in the magazine are admittedly young. The average age of our male reader is 26, so there's a certain logic to that.
19.
But in terms of my attitude on the feminist movement as it exists now, I think that women over generations and centuries have indeed been oppressed. I think there's no question about it. Yeah. It's only a relatively short time that they've had the vote, and a short time before that they were allowed to own property. I think there are still many areas in society in which they do not have equal job opportunity.
Yet. Remember, this is 1970. I want to correct Hef here really quickly. Women could absolutely own property. Again, something else from my fourth book, Religion. There were what were called the coverture laws, and these were laws in the United States. I believe they were from certainly the 1800s on, and it only took it. I think once women got the vote. I'm not sure when they ceased, but there was the coverture laws were is that women could absolutely own property. They could own their own businesses. They could have money. They could have everything that a man could have. I mean, maybe not to the same degree, but if they came into money through heredity, if they came into a business or they built a business. Yes, they could absolutely, and they could certainly own family land. Okay. It wasn't that they couldn't have that. It's that when they got married, the ownership rights went to the husband. That's what they're talking about. That needs some clarity there. They're called the coverture laws. It was more advantageous, really, for women to be unmarried in a sense of like sort of, independence. I'm a strong, independent woman. Okay, well then if you were living in the 1800s, like 1800s, early 1800s, that it was more beneficial for you as a woman not to be married. Women had to get married, and they got married way younger than they are now. So if that woman got married and then suddenly her dad died and the property of the family estate transferred to the daughter, well, if that woman was already married, it transferred to her husband. And that wasn't because of sexism or an endemic sexism, at least not primarily. It was because men were responsible for their children and were responsible for their wives. And I mean that in the sense that they were responsible, that they had, if a woman made a decision, if she committed a crime, if she made a bad contractual thing, like a legal, like she put it, like signed away, whatever. If she made a bad business decision, if she made a bad property decision, if she, whatever, that man was the one who was responsible or accountable for her bad decision. That's why the property, that's why the money, that's why all that good stuff that we say, oh, women couldn't have that. No, you could, you just couldn't be married and have it. And it transfers over to the husband, because that if that woman got into a bad, investment, he was responsible. He was the one who had to pay the bill. He was the one who had to pay the fees. And that's how it worked. Voting back then was different. You had to have skin in the game. Voting was seen as not as a right, it's a privilege. You could vote. Only men could vote. Wow, is that sexist? No, it's because they were the ones who would go die in the wars. It's because they had more skin in the game than women. They had more going. The way we think about votes right now is almost a polar opposite of the way we think about voting back in the 1800s, right? Whatever, prior to women getting the vote anyways. It was something that you had to do. You're forced back. I think there were, I don't know if it's in the United States, but there used to be that it was mandatory. If you could vote, you had to vote. It wasn't like something you could just sort of skip out on. So that there is that. I made that comparison, by the way, to MGTOW, because MGTOW and the black pill right now, because right now the coverture laws go against men. You have more authority and you have more control and power over your life outside of marriage than you do inside of marriage. So what we've effectively done because thanks to gynocentrism, is we've made this generation, well, actually several generations of men, to disincentivize marriage for men. Of course, men still want to get married. PJ Washington. But you have more opportunity, you have more maneuverability, you have more rights, and you have more you'll have more money outside of marriage than you will in. And that's a really devastating blow to family, and it's a really devastating blow to really the economy too, but it's also the nation, right? So some things to think about. It's not so much I hate that he uses the term oppressor, but he doesn't know any better. Well, maybe he did know better. He's just being cagey about the whole thing.
One of the thrusts of the feminist movement is for better abortion laws. I think Playboy has done as much as any mass media in terms of trying to accomplish exactly that. But I take issue and separate in this one rather fundamental area. There is usually a parallel made between female emancipation and racial equality.
Right.
And
always
I
trying
don't
to
think it's the same
civil
thing.
rights.
Even though the feminist movement grew out of the civil rights, the current feminist movement grew out of the civil rights business. For this reason,
distinction.
I don't think that the color of a man's skin is any more important than whether he is blonde or brunette, blue-eyed or brown-eyed. I think whether you are male or female is the beginning of who you are as a human being.
This is based.
I think it's important, and I think that it is important emotionally as well as physically. I think there are differences, and I think there should continue to be differences. I think what we want to try to do is find roles in society that are not as limiting as they've been in the past. And they have been far more limiting for women than men, admittedly, but very limiting for both in the past. I hope we're going to evolve into a society in which the broadest spectrum of opportunities exist for both men and women, but I think that to begin with, we are, I like very much Mary Calderon's comment in a recent Playboy interview in which she said, she's less interested in women's rights than human rights. I think that it's...
Would you like to respond, Susan?
I certainly would. The role that you have selected for women is degrading to women because you choose to see women as sex objects, not as full human beings.
Well, it obviously
hold
is
on
degrading...
now. The day that you...
It obviously is degrading
I want to
to a
say, I
lot of
haven't
women.
finished. The day that you are willing to come out here with a cottontail attached to your rear end...
And that right there is the gotcha moment that she'd probably been waiting for the entire show. Yeah, you should come out here in a bunny outfit. How would you feel, right? Yay! That's all this was.
He has made the degradation of women a condition of employment in the Playboy clubs around the country. They have to get into these ridiculous costumes which deny their humanity and their femininity. You make them look like animals. Yes, women aren't bunnies. They're not rabbits. They're human beings.
All right. The Playboy symbol, the rabbit, of course, and the...
And I get what she's saying here, by the way. I get what she's saying, but from her own logic, if you want women to be able to be seen as adults that are out and able to make their own decisions, that means if they decide to get into an outfit because they're looking for an opportunity by a guy named like Hugh Hefner or the Playboy symbol, which granted a lot of women a lot of opportunities, that's their choice, and you have to treat them like adults that can make their own decisions. And I think the feminists of this time frame would have been very disappointed to see what has happened in 2021, where if you...
Actually, I don't. I don't think they'd be disappointed whatsoever, because we've come a long way, baby. The whole, again, this goes back to the dehumanization part of things, right? So we've gone from, if you come out in a bunny outfit for Playboy, that's dehumanizing, to the point where if you disagree with me, if you are not on the feminine imperative gynocentric agenda, you are less than human. Now we've switched that out in 1970. It's in that time, right? 50 years. That's what we've done. We've essentially said, if you don't toe the feminist line, if you don't toe the gynocentric social order, you are less than human. If you disagree that the correct way to experience life is through a female primary lens, is to the female existence is the correct way to live your life, then you are less than human. And if you're innately masculine, if there's parts of your aspect of your personality and your humanness is masculine, and you're literally born that way, I love to use that one. Oh, I was born this way. Yeah, you're born that way when it's convenient for you, and you're not, and everything else is social constructionism when it's not convenient for you. But men and women, and I love this part that Hugh Hefner's talked about, men and women are different. And you know what's funny is that wasn't a radical statement back in the 60s. Men and women are different. Now, they didn't have Hugh Hefner certainly didn't have the advantage of understanding like the innate, biological, psychological differences between men and women that we have today. But that's like a radical statement today. James Damore at Google lost his job because he made that distinction publicly. Men and women are different. Get them out of here. We don't like what you have to say there, mister. Why? Because there is this desperate, legalized, criminalized belief that everyone is blank slate. Everything is socially constructed. And if you even just casually utter the words, men and women are different, and we're more different than we are alike. You utter that in any variation of that, you run the risk of going against the gynocentric social order. Get him out of here. Cancel him. Erase him. Because he's drawing attention to our Achilles heel, the blank slate and social constructionism. That's why. Everything crashes down, and I think on some level of consciousness, the people who hold this worldview understand this. Everything crashes down if the blank slate isn't real, if social constructionism isn't real, if it's less real than it is to found a social order on it. Take that away, and it's all over. It's all gone.
Give women that choice, you'll find that a lot of women will choose to sexually objectify themselves and use seduction as a means to get what they want. So, but one thing that I really want to highlight with what's going on right now, guys, is this is super important. Look at how they're able to have a conversation right? Look at how they're able to sit here and talk to each other. And even though they don't agree, they can sit there without crying or walking off or boycotting or whatever it may be. They're able to sit down and have this conversation. And this is what national television used to be. It used to be two people with opposing ideas being able to sit down and have good discord about tough situations, about things that a lot of people can be emotional about. But in this time frame, people were tougher.
That's the difference. Okay. And he's right about this. And I'm gonna scroll past because I want to get back to the interview here, and nothing against him. I think he's absolutely spot on 100% right about this. The other part is this, is that today, when we look at that, when the older feminists, so to call me a woman feminist, is saying, oh, you're degrading women. You're putting them into a uniform. You're creating a role for them to play, right? Which is, flirty bunny, at the Playboy Mansion, it's set the centerfold. There's a definite, to Hugh Hefner's credit, he figured out the template, right? He figured out what, the American male wanted. And at that time, it was just sort of this really more eroticized version of the pinup art that was on on airplanes in World War II, right? I mean, that's what he was really trying to capture. And he got that and made a bajillion dollars off of it. However, the argument that he was putting them into a uniform that they didn't want to be in is false. Number one. How do we know that? Well, we can look at OnlyFans. We can look at how things have changed for the female nature has been exposed courtesy of OnlyFans, courtesy of Instagram, courtesy of social media. They choose that role. They're not enslaved. Nobody forced you to start a OnlyFans. Hugh Hefner didn't say, hey, here's my OnlyFans, or the equivalent of Hugh Hefner didn't say that. They chose that on their own because that is human nature. That is female nature. Attention, sexual advertising. Why is it that married women and committed women in long-term monogamous relationships, why is it that they still want to have their Instagram? Why is it why do women go apoplectic when guys say, I want you to cancel your Instagram? Why is it that women say, I want you, or why is it they go crazy when they say, you know what, I know you've had your past or whatever, but I want you to close your social media? Because on some level of consciousness, women will say, well, you know what, I don't know if this guy is the right guy for me, and I want to keep all my options open. How do I do that? I got to keep my sexual advertising going on because in the 21st century, we are our own brands. And dating is just brand management. So to say, hey, I want you to disadvantage yourself in the sexual marketplace because you're now with me. Well, why did that woman get into advertising herself in the first place? She wanted to. She wants to be on OnlyFans. She wants to be in the bunny suit. She wants to wear the ears and the little cottontail. That's OnlyFans, right? I'm in the top 2%, right? They're proud of that. That's the bunny tail. The 2%, that's the bunny tail. That's the ears now. They're choosing this. It's not. And back then they didn't know because we didn't have the advantage of what we have, the information we have now. But that's what that really amounts to.
And they understood that their emotions don't matter. Your results matter. And the only way to get results is to have tough conversations.
I'm going to push this on a little bit. There we go. Not to take anything away from the guy. He's actually spot on.
The symbol was originally a male figure, and it was picked quite innocently and simply some 16 years ago because we felt it was a rather playful and sexual symbol. The fact that the girls are dressed in costumes is no more complex than that, and the girls obviously don't find it degrading, or we wouldn't have as many working with us. In addition,
that's not true.
Just 1 minute. In addition,
well, they're choosing to work with them.
I know that there are a great many women who feel as you do, but there are also 1 out of every 4 readers of the magazine today is female, so there are obviously a lot of other women too. In terms of degrading and wearing a bunny tail, the parallel that's usually made is, why don't you create a women's magazine with nude men? Because there's some kind of a notion that, taking the clothes off is a degrading concept.
Hey, Helen Gurley Brown wants to put a man in
she does,
Cosmopolitan. What do you think of that and her?
Well, that's another symptom of the same decadent problem, right?
Is she just a female half?
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of... No, she's not. I mean, Helen Gurley Brown at least was the first person who ever said that it was okay for a woman to be single up into her 40s and 50s.
Wow. Sound like something we've heard today? Remember what I said about language that's still being used today? From 1970. This gal right here, I don't know how old does she look? She's got to be in her mid-20s. The other girl's 30, 35, right? Is she even still alive? But this is a young woman. Of course, she demurs when he says, well, what about a naked man in a what about Playgirl, right? Oh, maybe that's okay. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's what you needed. Maybe you just needed that equality, right? you needed the guy, the hot guy in the foam cannon party to, be in a magazine or whatever. But this is where this language begins. This is where, like, when I keep saying, where do these memes come from? This is where they come from. They've been around for forever, and they are failed memes. We know they're failed memes now.
One has to give her that. But
she's justifying now because there's going to be a man put into a female-dominated magazine.
Mm-hmm.
She's justifying, and I'm sorry if y'all hear some stuff. I don't know why they decided to do construction right when I'm making my damn video.
Let me push it on a little bit. It's basically what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Push this up a little bit more. And again, like I said, not taking anything away from Poor Man's Podcast. Actually, I put the link, by the way, if you want to go look this guy up. He's actually really spot on with a lot of his stuff.
Runs a magazine for men who want to seduce women, and we don't think that's a proper, that's a sole relationship between men and women, or even certainly not the most important one. And maybe that's the reason that all these things about male infidence and stuff like that you and Dr. May were talking about earlier has been going on.
I wonder if we could get a hassle. In other words, if you have a relationship with somebody, why do you have to form a big thing? I mean, some guys you have crummy relationships with, some you don't. I mean, some of them are great, some of them aren't. Some of them look at you as a sex object, fine. So the ones that like to talk to you.
Those aren't the ones.
No, I mean the ones who like to both go to bed with you and talk to you. You do both of those things. The ones who like to make music and talk to you and go to bed with you and write or whatever you do, draw. You do all those things. I mean, I don't see where the problem is. It's just maybe because I don't see what you're talking about yet. But I don't see the problem yet.
I think we need another show on the subject. We have to pause. We'll be back in a moment.
I thought that was interesting. Thank you, Poor Man's Podcast, for that. That was good. There's other ones. There's other. This has sort of piqued my curiosity. What'd you say here? Better, greater. Rollo, is feminism ultimately a socially engineered vehicle for protecting, optimizing the expression of female hypergamy? Designed, socially engineered? No. Is it a vehicle for protecting, optimizing hypergamy? Yes, it is. Is it designed? I think the only place I would have issue with that, better, greater, is the intent. Because I don't think I can look at these girls here and you listen to their 1970s rationale for feminism. Is that the same rationale that we have today? They're still mouthing the same words, but I don't think it was necessarily a design so much as it is we invented hormonal birth control. We invented an invention that unilaterally passes the control of human reproduction over to women. Now, women will fight me on that. They'll say, no, we're still in the patriarchy. Bullshit. We are long past. You know when the patriarchy died? 1965. Or was on a slow death from 1965. But what the pill did was it unfettered hypergamy. It took away all of the stigma of being unwed mother, because you have to, like, if you had the pill, I could still have sex. And I don't have to worry about I don't have to, more or less, don't have to worry about the shotgun wedding effect. I don't have to worry about the social stigma, because it was probably still in effect back in certainly 1970. It was like 5 years, right? Probably still there. But you want to know why there was a sexual revolution and why we talk about, the boomer generation and Woodstock, summer of 69, right? All that kind of stuff, and the free love movement and Studio 54 in the 70s. And it was just, until AIDS sort of put a kibosh on all that. Yeah, because there was this unconscious, this latent understanding that you couldn't get pregnant, or that you could have casual sex without the worry and without the risk of pregnancy. Now, of course, sexually transmitted diseases were still a thing, but that was think about how radically that invention shifted human history. I make the case for this again in my fourth book, The Rational Male Religion. And I said this is that this is I made the comparison to the pill, hormonal birth control. And I do realize there's many different versions of it now, but the idea or the invention that we can have sex without any of the side effect, without any of the consequences of pregnancy was a more significant invention than the atomic bomb, because it has fundamentally changed society. Here we are. Now think about this. Here we are in 1965 and we have the hormonal birth control, right? And now fast forward, we're in 2021. There is no equivalent of that. There's no medical hormonal equivalent of that invention for men. Why is that? Why? Because it's we can't figure it out. We have plotted the human genome. We plotted the human genome back in the early 2000s. We are like genetically modifying viruses. We're genetically modifying animals. We can do designer babies right now, but we can't figure out how to hand off that control, at least half of that control, like share that control with men. We can do that. We lack the will to do that. We could put how many landers are on Mars right now? We could do that, but we can't figure out how to get it so guys can have a reversible vasectomy, like we keep telling men that we need to have anyways. Oh, they're going to take that control away from you. Please do, because if that's you'll see fertility rates plummet even further, because we have this attitude. We built this society. We built a gynocentric social order in the wake of hormonal birth control. And what did that do? It unfettered the female sexual strategy. That, better and greater, is why we're where we're at right now. Protecting and optimizing the expression of hypergamy. Yes, because men say, you know what? That's great, ladies. Here's society. You take it. Here's the babies. Here's the reproductive process. What are you going to do with it? We've had it for so long. Here you go. And women want to still say that they're oppressed, as we heard from the other girls on TikTok prior to me putting this there. Oh, you're in a relationship with your oppressor. Where did that come from? Let's rewind the tape back to 1970. Oh, using the same fucking language. And they don't even know where they got it. They have no clue. These are women who were born in the 90s, man. They have no clue whatsoever. They didn't study this. They don't even care to study this. Reading a book is hard, right? They don't know where that came from, because if they did, they wouldn't hold that opinion. Because all the stuff that led up from 1965, 1970 to where we're at right now, with all the data and all the access you have to it, they have no desire to think anything different, because vulnerability and victimhood works for women. Feminism, oppressors, patriarchy, this, that. Let's repeat. Oh, squawk. Let's patriarchy. Squawk. Let's just parrot it back. They don't even know where the word came from. They have no idea what the concept is. They don't know that it's Gloria Steinem and whatever what's that other girl's name? They don't know that. They don't care to know that. They don't have to. It's already done for them. It's like turnkey feminism. Oh, just believe this, ladies. Well, okay. Sounds good to me. Let me go do a TikTok video about it. You're dating your oppressor. Well, I don't want to discourage you from having heterosexual sex with a guy, but you're dating your oppressor that you chose to be with, right? Put the bunny tail on. So the short, God damn it. Sorry, better. The short answer to that is what has happened is not necessarily, I don't think it was an intent so much as like nobody was thinking what's going to happen to society. People think, oh man, I can get sex, right? That's great. Casual sex is awesome. We don't have to worry about pregnancy, bitching. So what happens is you effectively put the reproductive, you make hypergamy the law of the land. You unfetter it. If you've read anything I've said, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll understand that we are the result. This society, this Western society, is the result of unfettered hypergamy being the preeminent sexual strategy of this age. All right. I have one more video for you. Let's leave everybody on a high note here. Okay. So I got to set this up. This is fine. So we've clearly we've progressed, ladies. You've come a long way. You have gynocentrism. You are the preeminent sexual strategy on planet Earth. There's more women in governorships in the United States now, right? You're in the workplace. You're still making money off of divorce and inheritance, but okay, you have more money than you've ever had before. You have more power. You have more choice. We've done everything for you. You still have all of the great inventions that men have given you. You have simps on OnlyFans. You have all of this all this world, this heavenly delight that has been given to you because of the pill and because of gynocentrism and because of the sexual revolution and because you still have fostered this idea that there is like that social constructionism and the blank slate is what we really think. Wink, wink, nod, nod, but it's not. It's gynocentrism. So I have all of these benefits. So what are you going to do with it?
Protesters dressed up as giant inflatable breasts. They were protesting Facebook's nipple image algorithm, which currently bans women from showing any nipples, but allows men to go shirtless.
Well done, ladies. Well done. You've used your overwhelming power of the vote to wear big giant boobies to free the nipple. That's where we're going to go with this. That's what you want to do. What a great bunch of tits. Yeah. Let's put that on there. That belongs on there. Yep. That's what you do. Was it Pook that said the surest way to make a woman miserable? Give her everything she wants. You want to know why women are miserable? We gave them collectively, societally, we've given them everything they want. Power, fortune, money, whatever. Like, certainly, you want to know why? I've said this before. You want to know why women have this sense of hubris, this overwhelming sense of hubris? It's because we've given them everything they wanted. Congratulations, ladies. Rejoice. Everything has been done for you. What are we going to do? Well, let's put these big boobs on them because I don't think we can show our tits on Facebook yet. What'd you say? Could the Soviets have used feminism to subvert American culture? Well, considering that feminism is as old as 1848 in Seneca Falls, New York, at the feminist convention or whatever, I'd say no. They didn't start it anyways. Well, now, here's the thing. I've been asked this before. Isn't the Rockefellers? Isn't it the Red Chinese? Isn't it Maoist Chinese? Is it the Jews? No, it's not. It's none of those. Because none of it works unless human nature works. That's why I always say it's wrong to really, it's wrong, but it's kind of non-productive, let's say, to focus on like, oh, well, it must be this evil cabal of Moloch worshiping baby eaters that started feminism. Dude, God damn it. No. Okay. Feminism is there regardless. What are you going to do with it? I would be more concerned that commercial interests have certainly used feminism for their best. Here we have it. What is it? Hugh Hefner. I'm a feminist. Hugh Hefner was a big feminist. Actually, I put that in book 4 too. Like he had an interview. It wasn't on Dick Cavett, but it was on another show. And if he's a feminist and he's getting laid and he's the publisher of Playboy, then I need to be a feminist too. That's like male deductive logic, right? If I align myself with the feminine imperative, if I identify with the feminine, if I emote like a female, if I identify and align myself and I support women's issues and I become a male feminist, I'll get laid. That's male deductive logic right there. If I identify more and I support women, then they'll like me more. I'll stand out. I'm not like those other guys, those other Marlboro smoking alpha males. I'm not like that. Ladies, you should love me and fuck me too, or better, more, because I'm on I'm on Team Woman. Dr. Warren Farrell used to be a card-carrying member of the National Organization of Women. Not anymore, clearly, but it used to. I would love if I ever got an invitation to talk to Warren Farrell. That'd be the first thing I'd say. What is it that turned you off from the National Organization of Women? Well, actually, no. I would ask you, why did you do that in the first place? Like, did you actually think that they had some like sort of genuine, authentic interest in, equality and, whatever the advertising, right? Did you ever believe that? Or did you just join because you thought, hey, Hugh Hefner was a feminist. Why not me? No, I just, so when it comes to like sociopolitical things, like a lot of people say it's the Jews, it's the communists, it's this, it's that. Feminism exists because it's female nature to want to have that power, to want, and remember, it's a desire for secure, long-term security. I mentioned this before. It's the want to have everything done for them. And I think right now we've pretty much accommodated women from the beta bucks side of hypergamy. But what we can't do is we can't give them the alpha fuck side of hypergamy, which is women's sexual strategy. We can't just hand that to them. So women all believe that they deserve, clearly, we see it on every goddamn show. Women believe that they deserve a 6 foot tall, jacked giga chad, right? They deserve that. This is what nothing but the best will do. Which is bullshit, because they'll, women's standards crumble like a house of cards when you get to the epiphany phase. Things shift a little bit, but the belief is still there. I deserve the best. And that's what really screws women up, by the way, is like, you want to know how you get alpha widows, and you want to know how you as a beta male guy who's like still blue pill and you don't realize this, and you get married. And then suddenly when she's 34, 35 and she's pining for the guy that she fucked in college, she's got the alpha widow thing going. Yeah, because she's still, you didn't answer the hypergamous question, and nothing really can, certainly not in the way that it used to anyways. And so, yeah, like of course I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat right now, but it doesn't, like, feminism doesn't, it's easily exploitable. Women's nature is easily exploitable. And it took us a little while to figure out, like, men's easy, right? Sex sells. Ugh. But for women, it's like you've got to hit those emotional buttons and everything else. And we've more or less satisfied the one side, like the security side, or at least the perception that women are entitled to the best of the best, and they're entitled to security. But the reason why women are so unhappy, the reason they're on the record levels of antidepressants, SSRIs, because they can't find a way to consolidate. They can't find a way to get the permanent alpha fucks. They got the beta bucks in spade. Every guy on planet Earth is ready, since the 1970s, has been ready to give them beta bucks. Okay, we got it. Now what? Well, the only thing that's left is alpha fucks. And you know what? That's not something that you can regulate, at least not now anyways. Maybe they will at some point. You can call your jacked, bull to come over and service you, and then go away so that you can go back to your husband. You want to know why cuckoldry porn and cuckoldry fantasies are a big deal? Why is poly a big deal? What that does is it normalizes the idea that women are entitled to beta bucks and alpha fucks. Now, beta bucks is easy. We've been doing beta bucks since 1970, at least from this video. But we got to figure out, how can we normalize alpha fucks? Well, beta bucks guy and alpha fucks guy are never the same dude. Very rarely the same dude. So what do? In a gynocentric social order, we make that the norm. We make cuckoldry the norm. Get off on this cuckoldry, right? Get off on that. Eroticize your jealousy instinct, guys. Give up your paternal instincts. Give up any innate evolved, because they don't believe that that's an actual biologically determined thing. Like, jealousy is a biologically determined thing. It's an evolutionary thing. The guys who were jealous, guys who mate guarded their women, were more reproductively successful than the ones that didn't. That's why. It's a feature. It's not a bug. But in a gynocentric social order that is founded on social constructionism, there is a belief that we can say, well, we can just condition it out of men. In fact, these girls here in 1970 said almost the same thing. Well, we need to train men to be the way we want them to be. Okay, well, in the 21st century, we want alpha fucks and beta bucks. And we got the beta bucks, but now we got to convince all those alpha fucks that they should be fucking us and not worry about whose baby it is. And we still need the betas to come in and take over parental investment responsibilities from the alpha fucks guys that we've already been banging for whatever. How do we do that? Create a society and normalize the social conventions that convince guys to gaslight themselves, but convince them that this is the norm. Cuckoldry should be normalized. Polygamy should be normalized. Polygamy, many women, one man, initialized or initiated by women, of course. You know, they can't just be any old random dude. It's got to be the ones they pick, right? Because that's how it works in a gynocentric social order, and it's going to continue. The beatings will continue until men decide to change things, until men decide to become teachers, until men decide that enough is fucking enough, until men decide to be unapologetically conventionally masculine. Yes, patriarchy was a good thing. Patriarchy was, in its idealized state, was responsibility and authority for men. And until we realize that, I don't think it's going to happen. But again, the idea, the crazy, stupid idea is that you can just condition it out of men, condition them to go against their biological instincts. Because it should be possible, because it's all social constructionism. It should be possible because we're all just blank slates. It should be possible because there's 71 separate genders now. You could be anything you want to be. I look at the libs of TikTok on Twitter and I'm like, this is like mass insanity. And why is that? Because it's fundamental. Let me explain to you in great detail why I am a asexual, backflipped, monkey, sexual, whatever, purple haired, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you about my gender identification. It only works when a society is based on social constructionism. What'd you say? Let's say a 29-year-old woman finds her perfect beta. If women's love is opportunistic, does this mean she loves him in her way, or did he just become useful? Most likely, he became useful. Women will not. So here's the fundamental rule for that, Huck, is women will not allow themselves to emotionally invest in a man unless that guy ticks off some of the boxes on the prerequisite list. And that requisite list changes over time as her need becomes more pressing, put it that way. So you're 29 years old, that's the beginning of the epiphany phase. So her priorities, while she would still probably like to get a really hot guy to fuck her, that guy is still, the hot guy might be superseded by the fact that he's a good bet for the future. He's a good bet for long-term security. Oh, and he's hot? Good. That's icing on the cake. So like when a woman is like, say, 23, right? Maybe looks are at the top of the list, right? I agree with you, looks maxers. Here you go. Here's the bone for you. At the top of the list. She's 18 to 23, 18 to 28 even, right? But he's got to be hot. He's got to like rock my world in the bed, and he's got to be hot. And he's got to love his mom, and he's got to have a good job, and he's got to be ambitious, and got to be confident. He's got to be this, and like all on down the list, right? It's like puppy dogs. Right? Well, when that woman gets to be 29, 30, 31, those topics or those little check marks shift. Like maybe she's willing to take a guy who's not as good looking as the guy that she fucked in the foam cannon party back in Cancun when she was in her crazy college days. But he looks like he'd be boyfriend material, right? He looks like he'd be good. He loves his mom, he'd read to my kids, right? Now he still has to meet a baseline of good looks, but the priority for long-term commitment is not based on just looks. That's it. What's your thoughts on mouse utopia experiment? I looked that up actually. Dude, that's a very long explanation. I'll get back to you on that. I promise I will. I don't have enough time left in the show to actually do justice to that, but I do know exactly what. You mentioned that before, and I looked it up. What else do I have going on here? Okay. Oh, thank you, Sam Whiskey. I'm the ultimate teacher. Apparently, I'm the ultimate teacher. Okay, I got to Huck. I got to No Internet. I got to Renegade Show. Did I get to you? Renegade Show says, women, how dare you have an employee wear a bunny outfit? Also, women, I'm dressed like a giant vajayjay to fight the patriarchy. Yep. Well, and one of the things I think that was not being discussed back in 1970, because it was probably a political or a social ticking time bomb, is that women's only real agency is their sexuality. We can say that in the 21st century because we have a good 50 some odd years, well, more than that, actually, 60 some odd years since the sexual revolution. And we can go back through the history books and see what, what's important to women, what's not, and what works for women and what doesn't. When divorce is the primary way that women make the most amount of money, yeah, your sexuality is your primary agency, dear. Sorry, not sorry. I can prove it to you. I can show you the stats. Oh, it's not always divorce. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's either that or it's inheritance. Could the Soviets? Okay. Got that. I got to, Marcus David says, did you watch Jonathan Pagot's video on He-Man? No. He-Man. No, because that was a piece of shit. Okay. Sorry. When your favorite nerd or when your favorite like game or your favorite hobby or whatever has a chick on the front and she's got the Skrillex haircut, and I'm talking about, like a shaved side heads, and she got looks like a long-haired mohawk, the Captain Marvel look, that's when your nerd has gone woke. What is this? Could that be why they don't pay teachers more? Because they know it would attract more men. Maybe there's something to this pay gap myth. Well, that's kind of a moot point now because the money's not there anymore. Like when we cross the threshold of using lottery money to fund schools, was the point of no return. Hello, Rollo. Any recommendations for No More Mr. Guy? Struggling to reform my beta. Recommendations besides? No, I can't, dude. God, get the Bible. How much simpler do I have to make it? Struggling to reform my beta validation tendencies. Okay, well. What do you need? What do you need to reform them? Do you need action or do you need to read something? Any idea about the sexual dynamics in a mission to explore Mars? Female-led, fights, lesbians, and trans included. Oh, boy. Let me explain something to you. ML, you have just opened a big can of worms. If you go and you look on Netflix right now, there are at least, I think, 2 shows. There's one called Away, I think is what it was called. And there's like, for whatever reason, going to Mars will only work if the captain of the mission is female. That's the only way it's going to work, apparently, because every goddamn show, even to a lesser, sorry, I got to fucking readjust here. Even Lost in Space, which I actually liked, like the new Lost in Space one. I actually kind of liked it. It's still kind of female centric, but at least they don't make the father look like a complete idiot. He gets the shit done. Mom, of course, runs the show, but dad is not, he's not a pushover anyways. But if you're going to Mars, you need a woman. They're already, remember Till in the Fields? That's Till in the Fields. Like all these shows, and that was one. There was another one. Away was one, and there was a second one, but they're basically the same show. And I told the guys in the Masculine Geek this. I said, you got to have a female captain, apparently, or the Mars mission will never be successful. But the Mars mission shows are not about going to Mars. They're about character development, because nobody knows how to write a plot anymore. Because all we do is we binge watch series. There's never a 2-hour movie with a beginning, development, a climax, and an end. Those days are gone, my friends. It's all about the serial drama that keeps you going and keeps you in. And I'm guilty too, man. I just finished up watching the last episodes of Westworld, and I thought the first season of Westworld, brilliant. Thought it was fantastic. And of course, it's brilliant because it was written mostly by Michael Crichton, who's dead, but good writer, good stories. Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton. 13th Warrior, Michael Crichton. And I thought it was really good. But again, they're kind of trying to milk the cow now, which is it's all about character development, and it's still good in the third series, but all of those shows about going to Mars are not about going to Mars. They're about that woman and who she left behind back on planet Earth, her husband, her dutiful husband, who is in a wheelchair, right? Or it's her daughter has her first kiss while she's away going to Mars, doing the right thing, for humanity. And it's that plot development that is not about the plot, but it's about character development. And usually those series run for about 2 or 3 seasons, and then they die off or they don't get funded again. And there's a reason for that, because they never had a plot to begin with. All it is just feeding you this emotionalism and this connection to people. So it's not about the actual story. It's about the people in the story. And that is feminine primary ways of writing stories. Got it? So like, I don't know this for a fact, but have you ever watched the show Lost? And Lost was written like the show was from a long time. I think it was like late 2000s. Not sure. Lost was a big, like a cult hit, a cult classic. And I only watched a little bit of it. I watched the first, I think I watched the first season of it and I was done. I was just like, this is just stupid, because all it wasn't about like people being cast away on this mysterious island or something like that. It wasn't about the island. It was about the people on the island. It was all about their backgrounds. Like there's more plot development in the individual stories of the characters than there was the actual show, right? But you know what threw me off is the polar bear. If you ever watch Lost, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a part in the very early beginnings of Lost where like somebody got killed by a polar bear on this tropical island. So there's a polar bear right there. And I don't know if they just alluded to it or they showed a little carcass or something like that. And they never came back to that. There was a fucking polar bear on this island. Why would that not? How did that happen? No explanation. Because it wasn't about the island. It was about the development of the characters. And why is that? Because men are interested in things and women are interested in people. That's what kept people going. I would say that the demographic for that show and the demographic for shows like those wasn't about the plot. It was about the character development, because the demographics were for women. Women love that stuff. Oh, then what happened? What happened to her? They're going to Mars. Isn't that incredible? No. What happened to the guy who's the doctor on the show? And what happened to, is he ever going to resolve his family issues before he dies going to Mars? That's the priority. Good observation though. Did I get it? What do you think about social media being analogous to porn for women? I think I'm the one that said that. That's what I think. It's analogous to porn in that it triggers the same kind of dopamine addiction that pornography triggers for men. Now, I'm not saying that porn can't. I hate using the term addiction because it's like it means different things to different people. Okay, but as far as the chemical reactions are concerned, as far as like pornography, when you see pornography, remember what I just said, it triggers tool use in your brain. Yeah. So there is a biological aspect to it for sure, but it's the same dynamic as why do women get off on 50 Shades of Grey? Why do they get off on the plot development in Lost? Because it triggers that like women's porn is different than guys, right? It's sort of this theater of the mind for women rather than just watching two people fuck. And by the way, I was the one that actually I proposed this, that it was and I got run up the flagpole. I can show you the tweets where I got run up the flagpole for this. Who hurt you? Okay, end of story. Hard to criticize the plot when there is no plot. Yes, exactly. Did you ever look up the 6 servants? No, I did not, but now it's on my Great Big Book of Everything Mustang. Thank you. Let's see. I got to keep going back. Don't give me any more, man. I got to catch up and I got to finish this. I got Robert Kiyosaki. And actually, I got to do my NFL draft. I'm going to go over to Donovan Sharp's channel here at about another hour. So we're going to do our NFL draft and just like screw around. Mental popcorn, that, and I'm like sweating like a pig in here because the air conditioner's off. Okay, I think I got to everybody. I got to Telly. Did I get to Phil? Is it fair to assume that a woman loves how you make her feel and not you as a person for who you are? Appreciate all the work. Okay, so again, going back to the love conflict, women fall in love with what you are. Later on, they might fall in love with who you are, but they fall in love with what you are. So who you are is sort of is ancillary at the point where a woman invests in you emotionally to get to that state of love. So that's why I say women are opportunistic when it comes to their concept of love. Men are idealistic. They believe that love should exist for the sake of love. Love exists for the sake of love. I think she's my one. No. Let's see. Multi-wing nut. All the women everywhere are outraged by the Texas abortion ban. What are men not? Why aren't men fighting as hard for financial abortion when it's the same thing? Are they simping for sex? Is sex bots the answer? If you can't tell the difference, does it matter? Yes, I've been watching Westworld. I've heard this before, and I agree. I'm like, why aren't men fighting for not being responsible people for their kids? If I don't want to pay for the kid, if I don't want to have child support for the kid, then whatever. I should be able to walk away. Now, I got mixed feelings about that. I agree. I don't think that there should be an obligation for it. But if there weren't any obligation, if you like, let's just say they passed a law that says, okay, guys, if you don't have to be financially responsible for this, okay, fine. I think you should still be responsible for it. I just don't think it should be mandated. If that makes any sense. There's I don't know if it passed yet. I got to go look this up. There was a proposed law in Utah that said that a guy, if he was the father, if there's a pregnancy results after sex, that guy has to pay for at least half of the prenatal care for the child, and sort of like building the guy up to encourage the guy to be the father, or encouraging the guy to, remember, okay, you're going to be on the hook for child support. And I thought this was very clever because it's only valid if it can be proven by DNA that the kid is actually his. So if it is, you're on. Women get at least half of their prenatal care taken care of. But what that forces women to do is to take a paternity test to determine whether that kid is actually the guy's. And I think that's really the functionality of that whole law. But anyways. Maybe that's just me being me. God damn it. No, give me any more. I'm not going to answer anymore, you guys. You guys. R. Sid, I talked to you. Alan Maya, okay, got to you. Marcus Davis, got to you. Okay, I think I am done, except for these new ones here that you guys just threw at me. And then I'm going to go away. I'm doing the exit talk right now, so now you can go away. If you're done, you're done. I do have an announcement to make, so don't leave yet. A competent man, hard to criticize. Okay, I got that. Did I get to you? I think social media. I got to that. And there was a couple more. Wait. Don't tell me. Oh, ML. Sorry, ML said the idea of sexual dynamics in a mission to explore Mars. Okay, got that. Mustang, I got to you. Okay, thanks. We're done. All right, I'm out. If I didn't get to your super chat, I'm sorry. Whatever. I don't think I did. I think I got to everybody. I got to everybody today. All right. Tried to. We're at 3 hour mark, and I got to go talk to Robert Kiyosaki, and I have to go over to Donovan's show. So if you go to Donovan Sharp show, we're going to just do this. It's completely casual. It's just fun. We're going to do our NFL draft, and hopefully I will get some decent players this year. So big announcement is this, is I am in fact working with Robert Kiyosaki. There's going to be some shows with myself and him on the show, possibly his show. That's coming up. Audible version of the fourth book, Rational Male Religion, will be available, I would say, within the next 7 days. I just put it in for approval, so it should be there. So that's coming up. Go get it. If you haven't got this already and you want to know what the hell is this crazy guy talking about, buy this book. You can go get it from Kindle. Don't go get it from a pirated PDF site that all the people who hate my guts are disseminating right now because they want to find some way to financially hurt me, even though they can't stop talking about me. Even my detractors still pull all of their material from this book. You want to know where all of it came from? And I don't feel bad if you think I'm being arrogant. So anyways, yeah, go to the source. Also, last but not least, crypto mindset with Charlie's Q4. This is the last one of the year. If you didn't see the Robert Kiyosaki show that I did with Miguel and Charlie from Cultivate Crypto, go watch that now. It was great. It's only an hour. You will sign up for that course, and you can see where the link is. I put the link again it's the first one in the description here. Go check that out. If you want to in any way support this show, I have Patreon. By the way, we're going to be doing group meetings middle of this month. I'm thinking maybe the 17th or the 18th of September. I don't know yet. Don't quote me on that. But middle of this month, maybe it'll be a Thursday. I usually do it midweek, so maybe the 16th. But about the middle of September, I'll be doing the group chat or the group counseling session. But you have to be a Patreon member to do that, and you have to be at the top tier, which is the $200 level tier, which is actually pretty cost efficient if you compared to like what I would charge you for one-on-one. I do one-on-one. If you're uncomfortable with the group setting, I will still do that. Just hit me up on my email. You'll see all the links in the description. Really, just click that thing. It says show more. Click that. Yeah, then you'll be good. So anyways, hit on Cultivate Crypto. It will pay you back. And it's endorsed by me and Robert Kiyosaki. So thank you for watching. I hope this has done good things for you. And I will be back on Wednesday with a short show. Be sure to check out my clips show, which will probably be a lot of clips from this one. But check out my clips show. And dude from Poor Man's Podcast, if you watch this and this is the end, I want to get in touch with you. So hit me up, man. All right.